Baseball is back, and the first pitch is on Netflix. The New York Yankees, led by 7-time All-Star Aaron Judge, head to the San Francisco Bay to take on Rafael Devers' San Francisco Giants. This season kicks off with one exclusive opening night game. Watch MLB Opening Night, the New York Yankees versus the San Francisco Giants, live on Netflix. Wednesday, March 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Start your day with Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal. The instant oatmeal ready to help you tackle whatever your day brings. Like wrangling your toddler into their car seat. That was fun. Coaching your 6th graders soccer team. Go girls! And carrying all the groceries in one trip. Whew. Try Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal, granola, and bars. Great taste and a good source of protein. Quaker, bring out the good.
Whether you bond over streaming binge-worthy videos, watching sports recaps, video gaming, or by unplugging altogether, the 2026 Lincoln Nautilus Hybrid helps keep you connected throughout your journey. Learn more at Lincoln.com. Available connectivity features and functionality vary by model. Package pricing, trials, and term lengths vary by model. Video streaming and games are only available while parked.
Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Monday evening via Zencaster is my friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, we have many things to get to. 4 games. Season was off, then it was back on. We have some ELCs that sound like they were signed, feel like they were signed a year ago. We have an AHL team moving finally, officially. We won't get too far into that. And of course, you know we got to do a Master Leaf Theater at the end after a week of Toronto madness that did include the Islanders for once. But we're going to start with Sunday's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, a 1-0 win that, again, put the season back on the rails, at least momentarily. Where are you feeling? What are you feeling about the Islanders now following that Columbus game, which, of course, came after 2 absolutely disastrous games in Ottawa and Montreal?
Yeah, that Columbus game, it's been a charmed season, right? Like, I don't think anyone would disagree
Right.
with you. There obviously have been some moments where the Islanders haven't been on the right side of Lady Luck, but compared to most seasons for the New York Islanders, this has been a charmed one. We haven't had a game, knock on wood, where 2 defensemen get injured in like the first 30 seconds of a game, or they can't find Matt Barzal, or Josh Bailey's locked up in a hotel in Florida, or anything like that. There's no concrete in the toilets, asbestos
Right.
in the ceiling. Brett Yormark hasn't landed a helicopter on the parking lot yet. So I mean, it's been more charmed than usual, and it felt like this week that all kind of went poof, right? Like we talked about the pixie dust a few episodes ago, and it felt like this week was the hockey gods, laughing at us and being like, "We strung you along," and that's why I thought Sunday, because the season's been so charmed, relatively speaking, once again, I feel like Sunday was the first time where I actually felt like I was staring into the abyss, right? Because even Saturday night, you knew, okay, if they lose, they got another chance to rescue it on Sunday. But Sunday was the first time you really felt that, right? You felt that on your shoulders going into the game, during the game, because the Islanders decided that one goal was going to be good enough, maybe two. But you felt that weight on your shoulders of this is it. Going into a game that the crowd seemed pensive.
Yeah.
It was a good crowd. The both teams I feel like looked a little nervous. And I think that part of that all was the build up to it, right? And I'm not talking like the music intro, like the Hockey Night in Canada music, or like there was no war of words between Rick Bowness and Patrick Waugh or anything like that. I'm talking about the build up on the Islanders side, which was a gut punch on Thursday night, an embarrassment on Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday night, and then this really tight game on Sunday night. There was like I was just really ready to be mad.
Yes.
I was ready to be mad at the Islanders. I was ready to be mad at myself for getting kind of duped into this season and getting tricked into thinking that the Islanders might be a team of destiny. And again, there's all this pent up anger. Then, you're sitting there, you're sweating through a 1-0 win. I get sent like in the middle of the third period, the Islanders are like posting pictures of fitness
influencers or something. Yeah.
And like an ALO or a Lululemon brand activation. And I'm in the foxhole. I'm watching Anders Lee get run into Jet Greaves because he's pushed by Matthew Olivier, and I have like 4 people sending me this picture. I'm like, this is a perfect juxtaposition of the Islanders business and the hockey side of things and the business side of things. Like, hey, you think this review is crazy? Look at these kooky guys in the suite. And then
if you're gonna show us celebrities in the middle of the game, can you please make them people that we know? Like, if you're going to show somebody there, it better be Reese Witherspoon, or don't even bring these people, because I don't know who they are.
Do it during the first TV timeout.
Right, yeah.
It's like 1-0 the Islanders.
Yeah,
we're fighting for our
period.
lives. So,
right.
and I don't even need to harp on it too much, but it just adds to the point of like, there's all this pent up kind of, I don't even know what to call it. It was like rage, nervousness. I'm getting mad about the Palat and Soucy trades.
Yeah.
I'm getting mad about the Shen trade, all during this game. Like this game, I'm just rehashing all the things I'm mad about.
Yeah, I mean, staring into the abyss is one way to put it, but like just teetering on the edge.
Yeah,
because if they lose this,
right,
there might not be any coming back from this.
Right. Yes, and then we've had 1 foot in that zone, and then 1 foot in the team of destiny.
Right.
There's that famous political cartoon of like of Teddy Roosevelt, and he's like, walk softly, carry a big stick, and he's like stepping over a border. I feel like that's like what we are. Is we're like at 1 foot here, 1 foot there, and it's either gonna be like full blown rage at all this like little stuff that is petty, or be like, wow, we're in the playoffs. This is great, like magical season. We made a playoff push despite the odds, and there's really no in between here, and hearing that final horn, Matthew Schaefer's playing like the last 8 minutes of the game. His arms are raised in the air. My arms are raised in the air. I'm talking to ghosts. I don't know. There's nobody in the room with me, but there are people in the room with me as I'm watching this Islanders game and the clock tick down. And we are really rehashing. We're going through the twists and turns. I mean, we're talking like I'm digging up to people that aren't even there. I'm digging up stuff from 8-10 years ago.
Right.
And I'm like, this has led to this, and I got to deal with another off season where they don't make the playoffs, and I got to then in September get myself back up for this. And then the final horn goes, Islanders win, and I'm like, oh, never mind. Like big game on Tuesday now, and now I got to shut all that pent up, the teetering on the edge emotion. I got to put it back in the box in my soul and just leave it there until Tuesday night, and I don't know what is better for me health wise, whether at the, so I mean, I can tell you right now, the Islanders are just not good for me health wise regardless, but so that's where I'm at.
That about sums it up.
Yeah.
But that's sort of how the week was. Like we start, we're gonna get to all the games, but like it started out with a complete game victory over a moribund Maple Leafs team that we're gonna talk a lot about again in the second half. And the Leafs are obviously terrible, but that's the kind of game you want to see. And you're like, okay, maybe they're rounding in, they're getting into form, they're getting it. They had won on Saturday night as well. And then okay, now they're going to play Ottawa. It's going to be a tough one. And that game ends in a tragic way that was just incredibly annoying, especially when you're at your daughter's school play and you're trying to applaud her and her classmates for doing a great job, and you're just inside seething at how angry you are than what's going on 2,000 miles away from you. But that's another story. And then you're like, okay, and like you just said, like you're like, okay, listen, you lost a game. You could chalk it up to a bad bounce, whatever it happens. But then you got another game on Saturday, and then that one is a complete disaster. I mean, you couldn't get any worse than what happened there. And so that, then you're just like, they got to come back now the next day. They're starting the same goalie, and they got to play a team that's been, on complete fires for the last 30 whatever games and has surpassed them for their playoff spot that they used to have. This is not an ideal situation. And what do? They performed an absolutely perfect recreation of Barry Trotz hockey that we all knew to grow and love, years ago. And maybe their best defensive performance in probably since the 2021 Eastern Conference Finals. So it's been, this 1 week was a roller coaster in what's really been a roller coaster season, and this is going to continue for another 11 games. They have 9 of them at home, which is great, but it's not going to get any easier from here. And like now they've gone from being third in the Metro, briefly second in the Metro, to being in the final wild card spot. Things are, we don't know where they're going to end up from here, but they've inserted themselves in another way into the playoffs. So it's been a lot. And like what you just described from that one game, really just that one third period, kind of sums up again the week, the season, the year. Again, we went from being like, well, that was a disastrous season, to being like, holy shit, they're going to draft first overall.
Right.
So it's been a lot. If people are tired, I'm not surprised, because it's been a lot.
Yeah. And you, like, as we were, teetering on the edge, staring down the abyss, or just like facing that, right? Like staring into that, knowing that these last 70 games, which on the surface are success, right? Like you look at the record, this team should be in most seasons in the Western Conference this season, or in plenty of Eastern Conferences in season past. Like the Islanders are comfortably in the playoffs right now. They are feet up. We are clearing the calendar.
What was that weird? They had that one year where they had that insane record where they were like 9-6-8 or something like that.
Right.
Remember that? And we were like, that is an insane record. Right now they are 40-26-5.
Yeah,
and they're fighting for their playoff lives.
Yeah, totally normal record, normal playoff record, right? And you're just are wondering, like, has it all just been for naught in the season? And there's a lot of people who are taking a different approach, which is they're able to look at this and as a house money. I don't even playoffs are a cherry on top, and boy, all the power to you, because I'm just not able to do that ever. I think I did that once in a Scott Gordon year. I like went in being like, yeah, if they exceed expectations, great. And by the time they were, 3 games in, I was like, yeah, that's if they don't make the playoffs, I'm out. I'm just not that kind of person. But you've just felt like you were everything you just were put through for the first 70 games, and going back to even the end of last year, the draft, the 0-3 start, just all these things that have like built up to how they got to this exact moment. There was a bird on the ice at one point, right? Like you feel like all that stuff leading to an Islander team that misses the playoffs by 4 points is, you're just gonna be like, well, what was the point, right?
Right.
At least for now, we're not there yet, and that, as you said, comes down to a bona fide Barry Trotz era. I mean, Lou Lamoriello, wherever he is, if he tuned in, he just had a huge grin on his face watching that. Because it looked like Grant Marshall and Sarge Breland were out there killing with Jay Pandolfo, killing time for the New Jersey Devils of like the early aughts. I don't know if I've ever seen a team score a minute 25 in and then just like look at one another and be like, we're just gonna make that stick. and the other team be like, well, we know what they're parking the damn bus here. They are parking the damn bus, and we're gonna have to try to figure it out. And
but that's the thing is like they got that one in the league and they tried to get more and it just didn't go because the other goalie was pretty darn good too. So I'm actually okay with how that turned out, but during the game it was
high stress.
It was high stress, and I was just thinking about it that should the Islanders make the playoffs, and again that is still not a guarantee. What's funny, and I can't remember another season that would be like this. It's that the playoffs will probably be less stressful than what we're dealing with right now. Like at least at the beginning, Hopefully they don't get wiped out. I'm not saying they're going to lose in 4 games and it's over, but like. At that point, then you're really playing with house money.
Yeah, I think exactly. Yeah, I think that's the right way to look at it. Like you actually have accomplished something, and and you get into the playoffs, and you sign up for anything can happen.
Right.
And that's exactly is right. Like you actually. It's really weird because it's such a simple concept, but I think it's so overlooked in hockey, maybe in other sports too. It's like you have to get in. Like you once you get in. All the possibilities are endless, but you have to get in, and they're so close. They just, I think that they absolutely can look one another in the eye and be like, we deserve to get in, but they aren't in, and and that's that's not their fault. It's not anyone's fault. It's just how it's shaken out, and there's all this kvetching about the playoff format and all this stuff now, and I'm like. What good? I'm not gonna get into that. Like, what good does that do? They just need to get in,
right?
And this is how the year shook out. But that third period on Sunday really brought me back to some game 5s from that playoff run. A couple of the game like the game 5 and the game 6 against the Capitals in 2015. I felt like the same way there. It's just your body is actually tensed up. At one point I was watching the game on, we have a big couch, and then across from the big couch is just like a single seat. And at one point I was watching the game on that single seat. And then I realized, 20, 30, 45 minutes later, I was on the couch and I had no idea how I got from the one seat to the other, but it was all in this third, because of this third period and getting so wrapped up in it. And I still don't really know how I did. I'm assuming it was like during the challenge, and as I said, like there were spirits in the room with me watching, so I don't know if I was talking to one of them, but that's the kind of that's what we're dealing with here, and that's a lot to ask of somebody in a regular season game, in a season where you're 14 games above whatever they are above NHL 500. Like that game should not have mattered a lick.
With a Vezina Trophy candidate, Calder Trophy winner. I mean, let's just say what it is. And at least two guys having all-star seasons, another guy having a really great season. So I was just doing like breathing exercises. And I'm thankful that my wife was asleep, because she would have been like, what are you, like giving birth over there? Like, what is happening? She had heard me, but thankfully she was asleep. I was just like, just trying to breathe, just trying to like, because, well, all right, let's get into the game, because then we can get into all the many kind of mental gymnastics we were going through. Before that, reminder that we are on Patreon, patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. Sign up for all the bonus stuff. Dan's Islanders Book Club, for example, is coming out this week. We got a ton of stuff coming out. Weird Islanders extra episodes as well. So sign up today, patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. Okay, so we're going to start with the Columbus game. Obviously, it was 1-0. Started out with a bit of an ominous tone when you find out that Anthony Duclair and Ryan Pulock are both out with lower body injuries. Adam Boqvist, who I think most of us forgot was even on the team, draws back in. He was paired with Scott Mayfield. Carson Soucy was paired with Tony DeAngelo. This will be important later, because really the defense played very well in this game. And as Arthur Staple was mentioning on the Tri-State Area Hockey Podcast today, maybe it's time to break up Soucy and Mayfield, because that it almost never works. So that was already like a bad sign. But like you said, a minute 25 in, Boquist to Lee, who chips it up the ice. He finds Bo Horvat with a laser of a shot. 1-0 Islanders right off the bat. Obviously, this is your Vanda Pharmaceuticals shot of the week. Get you and your family vaccinated today, because what else would it be? And, great start, great energy in the building. Everybody wants, let's go Islanders chants going crazy. Cal Ritchie goes into the boards face first with a bit of a dirty-ish play. I forget who it was on the Blue Jackets. Went to the room. Fortunately, did come back, I believe, for the second period. So that was good to see. But it was a generally good, aggressive period, the kind that the Islanders haven't had in a long time. And when was the last time we said this? They did not look like a team that had played 24 hours earlier. Blue Jackets were in New York awaiting them. The Islanders were on the road in Montreal. They looked fresher. They looked hungrier, and we almost never say that. So that was actually a pretty good sign. No goals in the second, but the Islanders kept it up. I mean, again, good aggressive play. Shots were 10-5 for them. Third period, you mentioned it before, Anders Lee crashes the net. Puck slides in off of Matthew Olivier, who was right behind him, essentially pushing him into the net. A very long review. Everybody's like, come on, this has got to count. Olivier is clearly pushing him. The puck goes off his leg. How is this not going to count? It doesn't count. I don't know. Even Rick Bowness looked like he was like, well, I guess we got away with that one. So what should have been a 2-0 lead ends up being still a 1-0 lead. At that point, the Blue Jackets woke up and they started pouring it on. To this point, the Islanders, I believe, had kept them to just 2 high danger chances again I should say the Blue Jackets only had two high danger chances which for the Islanders is very, very good. They had 5 in the third period. I'm guessing most of them during this time, last 5 minutes or so to go. It was white knuckle time, but Sorokin and Schaefer were both huge. Like you said, he played about a 3-minute shift at the end there. Schaefer did. Sorokin, 26 saves, gets his NHL leading 7th shutout, ties his own Islanders record in a season with his 7th shutout. And Jet Greaves at 21. He made a lot of good saves, but just that one thing got away from him. And this was the needed gutsy win that we were all hoping for. And again, it kept them alive, put them back into a playoff spot. They're only 1 point out of second in the Metro again. So it's, it can't be understated how much this game meant, how much this performance meant. And finally seeing some quality defensive play made me feel better, because I don't think I've seen this team play a lick of defense since the end of the 2021 season, the Eastern Conference Final. They played against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They just pretty much abandoned it after that, with little flashes here and there. But it was a good defensive effort from these guys. Got a little squirrely at the end there, but the Blue Jackets were trying to score, so you can't really hold too much against them. But what a performance by everybody! Really, really, everybody deserves a lot of credit for this.
I mean, yeah, I think the build up to the day, right? You wake up and you're one of those moments where your first 5-6 seconds after you come back into existence from sleeping, you're just like, wait, why am I mad? Oh, right, the Islanders made a fool of themselves and me at the Bell Center on Hockey Night in Canada. We were getting olayed, and now we have to play again. And then a few hours later, the pull-up and little less important, to declare news. So that means Boquist draws in, and as you said, I think everyone had a massive game. Even Pierre Engvall had a big game last night. Anyone who was associated with the Islanders had a great game. Some obviously bigger impact than others. Sorokin was, there were 6 or 7 times in that third period alone where I had come to terms with it's 1-1. At least there's only 4 minutes left. Yeah, at least there's only 2 minutes left.
After they lost that review, I was like, well, here's where they tie the game.
Right. Yeah, and
if not get 2. That was where my head was.
Right. Yeah. and there was one, he made one save on a Kirill Marchenko one-timer from the from below the hash, the sort of Steve Stamkos, Leon Draisaitl home office, and that the pass going, and I saw that it was Marchenko cocked and ready for the one-timer. I was like, okay, it's 1-1. and just how many times in that game I had to pull myself back from that, and you almost felt guilty because I was like, why did I should have? You can't trust the Islanders, but I felt like at the end of the game I was like, I should have trusted them with the way they played last night. They deserved it. Carson Soucy, 3rd star, whoever,
he was good.
Yes, he was awesome. I like that pairing of Soucy D'Angelo.
Right,
was terrific, and I thought Boquist was really good too. He had one mishap where he got somebody went inside out at him in the third. But like outside of that, like Boquist I thought was good. Scott Mayfield was good. Like getting the two, like as you were saying, like getting the two of those guys away from getting, Scott Mayfield and lefty Scott Mayfield away from one another, like maybe it works. And
that's another thing. All this praise we're giving Matthew Schaefer, he played on his wrong side.
Of course he did. Yeah, that was the funniest thing, right? Like, just God, him and Pellick together.
Yeah,
was essentially that is putting the Islanders version of putting McDavid and Draisaitl together, right? It just felt like they're like, we just gotta do it. We gotta go nuclear here. And everyone was just so good. The fourth line was really good. I thought that was he didn't score, but it felt like Braden Shen and Matt Barzal worked really well together.
Yeah,
that might have been Shen's best game. I don't know if I could say too much about the the Andre Palat experience last night, but they didn't let up a goal when he was on the ice, which is nice, and hopefully he could start finding a way to impact more outside of us just being like, him and Cizikas work well together. But yeah, I mean, it was really hard to find a fault with the Islanders.
Yeah.
Last night it was hard to find a fault with the crowd. Was really, I thought was great. And I think that's another thing too, is like, as the Islanders were playing, St. John's was also in a a crazy March Madness game too, and you could feel, there are times where you could just feel tension through the TV, and I mean I thought you could feel it, and then that's why I thought the Islanders pipping out the whoever those people were, which I was just like, oh my God, no, don't do it right now. And I just now I'm laughing about it now, but it was, so that's why it felt like one of those games where, although there was only one goal scored, it felt like a million different things happened, but most of them were just in my own head, right? And in whoever's head, what your head, and whoever I'm sure everybody went through these similar, very isolated experiences, because that's what this kind of game can do to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a playoff game for all intents and purposes. It was a playoff game. The Islanders won, so they get to live on another day. The only game going on tonight is Rangers and Senators, and if the Senators win, they'll be at 83 points, so they'll still be below Detroit in the cutoff line. The Islanders have 85 points. They're in the final wild card. The Bruins have 86, right above them. But then again, the Blue Jackets have 85. I guess they held the tiebreaker over the Islanders, and the Penguins have 86. So, if the Islanders win tomorrow and those two teams lose, then they're back in second place. So it's going to be like this, or if they lose and those two other teams win, they'll be back below the line probably. So it's going to be like this. So that makes this win just that much sweeter. And it was a lot. And like you said, I mean, we all went through our various kind of like, because we've seen it before. And again, like, I'm the guy who's constantly harping on the fact that this team plays no defense, particularly interior slot defense. There was a Mike Kelly post, I'm sure you've all seen it, with like Sorokin's stats and how the Islanders give up the most slot shots in the league. They give up the most high danger chances in the league, and somehow Sorokin's high danger chance save percentage is first in the league because he's just crazy like that. So, we all have seen these things happen before, no matter what your feelings are. And for once, they didn't do it, and maybe they've learned something. One last thing really quickly before we move on. I highly recommend everybody, if you are looking for more podcast stuff, go to sportsnet.ca, go to the podcast, go to our favorite podcast, Kipper and Bourne, Real Kipper and Bourne, and go back to last Wednesday's episode where they talked to Rick Bowness. And right off the bat, Nick Kyprios was like, Rick, how have you managed to do this with the Blue Jackets? What's the secret? And he said, basically, I walked in the first day and I said, you guys are giving up too many shots from the slot. You're giving up some of the most slot shots in the NHL. That's not how you make the playoffs. If you want to make the playoffs, you got to cut that down, which will lead to turnovers, which will lead to offense. And basically, to a man, all the Blue Jackets went, okay. And that's what they've been doing this whole time. So, that kind of stuff matters. And the Islanders haven't been good at it all year. They're still in this position because of Sorokin, because of Schaefer, because of Horvat, Barzal, Pellick, those guys. But it's time to start doing that. And if they can start doing that going forward, then they can make these last, whatever it is, 4 weeks, a lot easier on all of us. But it was nice to see it in practice right there. Again, you said the crowd was great. People, high energy all night long. It was awesome. They went over whatever on the power play, but their power play looked good. They just didn't score. So can't get too far into that. Okay.
I just want one other thing about bonus and that review. Right after the Blue Jackets won the review, he gave like a little wink, and I was like, God, I love that's just
he knows
he's just
he knows he got away with one.
and it was just a great wink with his like kind of like chubby little baby face that he's got going with his hair. And
Blue Jackets fans were apparently very mad that apparently in the last 2 games they did not get a power play against the Islanders, which is some sort of conspiracy apparently. Guys, I'm sure.
And those the 2 huge goaltender interference calls that went their way nearly a year apart from one another. That I was like, what? Oh, it's just, and so you can also lob that on top of the the laundry list of things that were giving me severe agita while watching that game. But
that one to me was still worse because Merzlikins literally reached out and punched Palmieri in the back, and Palmieri got called for it. Wasn't anywhere near the blue.
I think we probably of any hockey podcast has spent less time on goaltender interference than anyone else. And last night I was watching that, and no, I always go into every review with the mindset of this is just gonna fuck the Islanders. Like I don't ever expect better. And I think last night I was just like, oh well, there's no way that this. I couldn't even get myself to do that because of that one. So to have to deal with that was crazy. And the Patrick Waugh quote at the end too was great too, where he's like, "Why was Olivier mad?"
Yeah, that was really funny. He had another great quote earlier this week we'll get to in a minute, but listen, again, we're gonna keep being the one podcast that doesn't talk about goalie interference. But 32 Thoughts, Elliot Friedman was like, they need to put out a video to explain this to everybody before the playoffs. Friedge, you're great. They could put out 100 videos. It doesn't matter. They just make it up as they go along. Like, let's just assume the refs have no idea what goalie interference is either. They don't know what contact is. They don't know what, a player going into the crease on his own momentum or volition means. Nobody knows what anything means. So just let it go. Forget it. It's Chinatown. So anyway, okay. We need to talk about these other games. Unfortunately, we need to talk about the other games in the week. And like I said, the 2 games in northern, Montreal is in Quebec and northern Ontario were both disasters. I will recap them as quickly as I can together. Then we can just talk about them as a unit. Thursday was a 3-2 loss to the Ottawa Senators. There was 2 fights in the first period. Anders Lee apparently obliged Brady Tkachuk, who politely asked if they could fight, and Lee was like, yeah, sure. That was all the impetus the Senators needed. The Islanders basically played like assholes for most of the game. Carson Soucy did make a cool goal line save, which was kind of fun. Schaefer scores his 21st from the point, makes it 1-0 Islanders, but then Shane Pinto, Long Island's own, scores a shorthanded goal, ties the game at 1. Third period, Braden Shen, his second as an Islander, we'll get to his first in a minute, scores from Simon Holmstrom, makes it 2-1 Islanders, but then Warren Fogle backhander ties it. The Islanders are clearly playing for overtime. They're clearly just want to get to overtime, get that point. They're unbeaten in overtime, so why wouldn't they? But this goes disastrously awry because a puck goes off of Adam Pelech's shin. It gets loose. And who is there to knock it home but that snot-nosed, subhuman shit pile, Brady Tkachuk, who is the man of the hour. He gets, he looks like Sloth from Goonies, like, whoa, and at the end, he's the big hero. And the Islanders have this embarrassing loss that really stung. Like, this just fucking sucked. Sorokin was heroic in the third period in particular. Wasn't enough. I mean, come on. They lost to James Reimer. I mean, come on. Really? Tkachuk was just basically running around, hitting whatever he wanted. No retribution, no nothing. It was very embarrassing. And at the end, they ended up out of the playoffs. So again, you're like, okay, that was that. Let's get back to it in Montreal on Saturday night. They just beat the Habs a few weeks ago on Hockey Night in Canada. Let's do it again. Did not happen. This ends up being a 7-3 loss. Even more embarrassing. Cal Ritchie was on the 4th line in this game. I don't know why. Just, I guess it was his turn, I guess. So they start out the game playing like assholes. Slavkovsky makes it 1-0 Montreal. At this point, Habs fans start booing Matthew Schaefer. I'm not 100% sure why. Apparently, it has something to do with him being the team's best player. And so they boo them. And this is an 18-year-old kid. I don't know if that's what you want to do, but I guess that's what Montreal wants to do. Heineman, quick wristers, ties the game at 1. Holmstrom, beautiful breakaway, and Deke scores, makes it 2-1 Islanders. Islanders were standing around a lot, again, playing like assholes. It was absolutely terrible. Second period was much better. Barzal and Schaefer hit posts. The intensity starts picking up, and Alex Newhook one-timer ties the game at 2. Then Tony DeAngelo takes an unfortunate penalty. Cole Caulfield scores the first of his hat trick, makes it 3-2 Montreal. Schaefer ties the game very early in the third period because they're on the power play, but then everything just goes to shit. A face-off loss goes to Caden Gooley, who scores, makes it 4-3 Montreal. A dump in, Slavkovsky gets behind Pollock 5-3, and then Caulfield his 2. They call him Mr. Saturday Night. I wish I had a better, funny name for him, but it works in this context. Matt Barzell almost gets into a fight with Nick Suzuki because Suzuki said something. It's a big scrum. The broadcaster's like, oh, you love to see this kind of fight in the team. I'm like, I don't know, man. It's a little embarrassing. Just take your lumps and get out of here and get ready for Columbus. It sucked. It was absolutely terrible. And it was almost 8-3. Zach Bolduc scored his first goal in like 20 some odd games, but it turned out to be offsides. And people were mad at Patrick Waugh. Hey, it was offsides. It was offsides. So what are you going to do? Sorokin was pulled, which is something we don't see very often either. And this was just about as bad as it could be on the heels of what was just a gut-wrenching loss turns into an embarrassing, horrible loss. And at this point, if you were thinking that the season was over, I wouldn't blame you. I don't know if I thought that. I probably did, but it was bad. And this was not the way this road trip was supposed to go. I don't know which of these was worse, the last second loss or the ass whooping hat trick, basically getting embarrassed in front of an entire province loss.
Oh, I was much more upset after the Canadiens game. Absolutely. Like the Senators game, it sounds crazy to say, but it was almost comforting because the Islanders hadn't had a game like that this season. They had one, was it against Detroit earlier on, I think, like November or whatever.
Maybe, I don't remember.
I can't. But they usually are good for 2 or 3 of these exact kind of carbon copy losses a year, and where you're just despondent and you're like, I can't believe that happened. Am I sure that happened? And when you realize you can't just complain to somebody, be like, can you rewind that and play those last 10 seconds again? You kind of go through the stages of grieving a loss like that. There's like, you start laughing a little bit. You're kind of getting mad at yourself and being like, you are pathetic, like that this is affecting you that much.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. And it's like I said, it sounds crazy, but that is a comfort zone for Islander fans, right? Like we are very good at feeling pitiful after a loss like that because we've seen a lot of them in our lifetime. And the Devils did it to us a couple of times in the same season. The Red Wings have done it to us numerous times. Maybe it was the Predators. The Predators that did it to us this season.
That was the Dobson one.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that one. Oh man. I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning almost did it to us in the playoffs, where it was going to tie the game up, but like these like last second, you look at the clock, you're like, oh, there's no way anything bad can happen in this short amount of time. Right. Ryan Pollock's got the puck on his stick. There's 6 seconds left. All he's got to do is pass it to anyone who's not wearing a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey. And or Noah Dobson just does, hey, Noah, just don't give it to the guys in those yellow jerseys and we'll be okay. And in this case, I think it was Tony D. And even then, like Jordan Spence, whoever it was digging the puck from the boards. And you're like, oh, he's got to float one at the net. As long as Adam Pelech doesn't get cross-checked into this puck, I think we're going to be okay. Oh, he did.
I did leave that part out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he gets cross-checked into the puck. The puck squirts. And, it's just a hugely important game too gets decided like that. You're just laughing. And I mean, I can eat losses like that for breakfast. I'm totally numb to them by now.
Yeah.
Following that up with what they did in Montreal after being incredibly lucky to be in the game after the first like 6-7 minutes because the Habs were all over them.
Dude, they were tied like 2 minutes into the third period.
Yeah. They scored a miracle because they scored on a power play that straddled the intermission. Right away. Like it's 3-3 into the third period. You are incredibly lucky to be in this game. And you are playing a team you're going up against. There's been all this talk about how heated the game was too. And I think Jacob Dobish was saying that, somebody on the Islanders said something that doesn't belong in the game or whatever. It's on their Reddit. Who knows? There's just like crazy stuff going on. And you're this intense game, and then you decide just to, as you say, like play like assholes, to the point where you tie a game up in the first minute of the third period, and 40 minutes later of real lifetime, you're down 8-3, challenging an 8-3 goal. Like, I'm going to be really mad at you for that. And went to bed mad. Great. It was a great Saturday for me too. It was out, beautiful weather. It was the parade in Rockville Center, so we brought the kids and was with my family there. It was very, very warm and fuzzy kind of day. And like on so many occasions in my life, it's the Islanders find a way to creep in to those days, to nudge their way in and just pull me down. And it also didn't help that the Blue Jackets like pasted the games were staggered. So like the Pittsburgh Penguins, not only did they win, but they had a goaltender interference review of their own. Plus a very weird phantom high stick review. And all of this, the Islanders are dealing with pixie dust, we said. The Penguins are on steroids. They were shooting like 60% at some point last week when they beat the Avalanche. And early last week, they had 5 goals on 10 shots at one point. It's just that they were running so hot. They played at 1:00, beat the Jets in a shootout. Then as soon as that game ends, the Blue Jackets game faces off against the Kraken. They absolutely paced Lane Lambert and the Kraken. So the Islanders are in this game where they know that those two teams have won. They need to get something out of this game to keep pace. That's what they do. And we were saying that Columbus game that everybody involved kind of could hold their head high and feel like they contributed to a 1-0 win. And I genuinely believe that. And I think maybe the opposite was true in Montreal, where they just were, it was almost like they were just there to make up the numbers, to be the team that the Montreal Canadiens beat on Hockey Night in Canada, right? Like that's what it felt like. And that was embarrassing. I was really upset, and I was hoping that they were feeling the same way, but you can't trust this team to be that way. But as we saw on Sunday, they got the message too from that game. So I'm really interested to see what that, hopefully that they're either in, or that Habs game later in April means something. So these two teams, the alliance is on pause right now. It's really interesting.
Well, listen, if you're an Islanders fan on Twitter, you may be part of the cadre who have been going at Canadiens fans all season since the Dobson trade. That's not us, but there is a contingent of Islanders fans who have been doing that. So the alliance is very much teetering right now. But I don't know. I mean, nobody said it, but you do wonder if there was a degree of embarrassment in that game. I mean, it's Hockey Night in Canada. I know. Listen, I'm not even Canadian. I'm not even watching on Hockey Night in Canada. I'm watching on MSG like most of the rest of you. And even I'm embarrassed when they do something like that on Hockey Night in Canada. Like, there were years when the Islanders never got on Hockey Night in Canada, and now they do it here. Like the game against the Leafs, which Schaefer had the 2 goals and the overtime winner, that was awesome, but that had another level because of the Hockey Night connection. Here, it works the exact opposite. You lose. I mean, losing on Hockey Night in Canada is not that bad, but it's like the way you lose, and man, to get your ass handed to you after, like we just said, you had a gift. You were tied at 3 in the third period. And frankly, like I said, they played well in the second period. All they had to do is get back to doing whatever they were doing before that penalty was taken. And they never did. They just never had a chance. And I don't know what was going on. So if whatever worked, and they were able to dust that off, get back on the horse, and play a million times better against the Blue Jackets the next night. So it's a lot easier to kind of like forget about this game, but it was not fun. It was not fun. And why I watched the entire thing, I have no idea. Like, I don't know why I didn't turn it off when it was 6-3 and then look later and be like, oh, Caulfield had a hat trick. Oh, all right. Why did I watch that offsides review? I was thinking that while the review was going on, like, why am I still watching this? They lost. It's just, again, I thought the Barzell thing was, I don't know what was said, who said what, we'll never know. I was kind of embarrassed by it. I was like, dude, nobody needs this, especially from you. Just you're too important. Just get out of here. But in any event, and what's funny, you look now, and the Islanders are still just 1 point behind the Habs. So it's not like, they left them in the dust or anything. It's just that one game where they did. So it was bad. Now, That being said, there is one other game to talk about this week. And again, it feels like it happened a year ago, but it was back on Tuesday night, St. Patrick's Day, if you remember correctly. And in fact, it was the Islanders versus the Toronto St. Patrick's, aka the Maple Leafs. And not a ton to say about this one. It was a 3-1 Islanders win. If these other games if Sunday night's game was the most stressful of the season, then Tuesday's game might have been the least stressful of this season. The Leafs never really threatened. It was 1-0 Islanders early. Braden Shen's first goal as an Islander. We haven't talked about him much, but we will get back into him at some other point. But it was then 2-0 Cal Ritchie, who had a great game. They set it on Kipper and Bourne. All the talk was about Schaefer. Ritchie, the other Toronto kid, comes in, has himself a great game, makes it 2-0 Islanders. Steven Lorentz had a kind of a surprise shot spinning around on Sorokin, made it 2-1. But Barzal has an insane shift, finds D'Angelo, finds Heineman, makes it 3-1. And at that point, honestly, the rest of the game was pretty much academic. The Leafs just kind of gave up. That was it. Tavares took a double minor for high-sticking Adam Pelech. That was a lot of fun. And the Leafs had a couple of chances late, but I mean, at that point, it was over. So this was by far, I wrote in my notes here, boring in the best way. Barzal had 3 assists. Ritchie had a great game. Sorokin did what he needed to do, and they were out of there. And it was great. It was great in a boring, just completely academic way. And again, it was the exact opposite of whatever Sunday was against the Blue Jackets. But in either case, the Islanders came out on top. And, they took 4 out of 8 points. Would have been nicer to get 2 more. Had they gotten to overtime against the Senators, even if they had lost, at least it's 1 more, would have been a little bit better. But as it is now, they're still very much alive. They might not be given whatever happens the rest of this week, but right now they're alive, and so I guess we'll take it.
Yes, the thing I kept thinking about that Leafs game was how weird it was that the Leafs just felt like another team, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the first time since 2018.
2018.
Yeah,
zero juice to this one at all.
Yeah, and a lot of that juice is, us. I don't think there's a lot of Toronto Maple Leafs fans who are like, huge game against the Islanders, right?
Oh, no.
They don't feel it the same way. And I'm sure there's a lot of Islander fans who don't get as G'd up for it as we do. But it's personal to us, and that one felt almost strangely, their number 91 could have been anyone, right? Like he could have been any other player in the league that night, because I didn't feel that same kind of connection to it just because of where they are at the standings. They're also, we're going to get to it later, but like all the circus stuff that's going on with them has been kind of great. And then when they actually play games, they just are terrible and they're boring to watch. And it's so like the Islanders, I don't know who said it. I think it might've been Justin Bourne, but he's like, the Islanders got like the exact opponent you hope for when you're in the position of like, this game is do or die for us, and the other team is just playing out the string. Yeah. Like that the Leafs were served up on a platter for them there. So that's really all I had to say about that. And just when you kind of put now all 4 components of the week together, like this week kind of just showed you how thin the margins are in this race. And I think we're not a podcast that's like, we're not here to make predictions or to play Monday morning quarterback or anything like that, but rather kind of contextualize how the Islanders are, what's making us nervous about the Islanders at any given point. And that could be like the Islanders are having too much success. Sometimes that's what's making us nervous, and other times it's that the Islanders are terrible and whatever. But this season has been unique in the thing that's really the overarching anxiety to the whole season, which is that you feel like there's a possibility that the Islanders are wasting a golden opportunity here. Like an opportunity like this in a season like this just doesn't come along all that often. And in this week, I think we saw how close the Islanders are on both sides of that to grabbing the season by the horns and like just taking it into the playoffs with the win against the Leafs to start it. It felt like they were, even the first part of the Senators game, like they're getting a point out of that game. You feel like they were just about to do it, and then it all, the Adam Pelech gets cross-checked into a puck. They no-show in Montreal, and I felt it again. Like, I'm like, they are stringing us along. This is a season where they're going to have a Vezina, guy who should win the Vezina, even if he doesn't. They're going to have the Calder Trophy winner at a historic rookie season, one of the best ever. They're getting a, knock on wood to this point, full season from their best defensive defenseman who hasn't stayed healthy in ages in Adam Pelech. They're getting a great season from Tony DeAngelo relative to like what his role was supposed to be. Barzal, Horvat, Holmstrom. They're getting 20 goals from Emil Heineman. They're getting all of this, and they feel like a team of destiny. But the only problem is there are like 8 other team of destinies in their same conference, and you're coming face to face with that reality that they just might not be team of destiny enough in a season of teams, in a conference full of teams of destiny, right? And to be on the outside of this playoff race when the season is over, it's going to be crushing for whoever it is, whether it's us, whether it's the Penguins, the Blue Jackets, the Senators. How the Flyers are like kind of, they play the Blue Jackets tomorrow, the Flyers do. Like they could convince themselves they're still in this thing. The Red Wings, obviously, like even, the Bruins, everyone, whoever is left out of the dance, it's going to be crushed. And that's just how it is anyways. And we've said for weeks and weeks now that as much house money as you think the Islanders have in their pocket, like nothing in sports is linear or straightforward. There's no guarantee about next season, especially with this team. And to like stare down all that in 1 week, to go from the highs and lows that this kind of season brings in step by step, like from the top, then slowly ascent to the rock bottom, and then maybe get pulled back up again. That's a trying week, and one that, I think we'll probably talk about this week quite a bit in 2 or 3 years from now. There are sections of seasons that you just will always remember, and whether they're good or bad, and I think this one will be one, no matter if they make it or don't.
The Isles House guys said that there was a stat, they didn't say where it was from, that the Islanders were on pace to have the most points for any non-playoff team in NHL history. And that could be any one of them, though. It could be the Bruins. It could be the Red Wings. It could be the Senators. It could be any of them. It could be, if the Penguins or Blue Jackets come down off of the highs that they've been on lately, it could be them. You never know. So it's pretty rough. It's going to be a lot. And then, like you said, very, early on when we started talking, there's a lot of calls to change the playoff format. You got to do this. You got to go to 1 through 8. First of all, nobody's changing the playoff format now with 4 weeks to go before the playoffs. This is what we're dealing with right now. And, I don't know if changing it would, there's always going to be somebody on the outside looking in or having this isn't really the first time this has happened. Again, if you remember the 2014-15 season, we've talked about a lot. That was the Islanders' best season in years. They had a 100-point season for the first time in God knows how long. And they could have won the division had the Capitals and Rangers not had literally historic seasons for both of those franchises. I think the Rangers had 112 points or something that year. They might have won the President's Trophy, and the Caps were right behind them. So, the Islanders finished 3rd in the division and still had the best season they had had in decades.
Right.
So, we're kind of used to this, like you were saying before. The Senators game is very familiar territory. But, like I said, would have been nice to have a couple extra points, but all things considered, they made it out okay, and they're still in the spot. We are going to take a break, and we're going to come back on the other side, and we're going to talk about the upcoming schedule. We're going to talk about the ELCs and very, very briefly about the AHL team moving. We want to get into that at some point, but now is really not the time. There's a lot kind of going on. We want to give it its proper due. But I will leave, and we're going to get into our Master Leaf Theater, and I will leave you with this sort of segue that's going to have a bunch of stuff in the middle. In the Maple Leafs game, there was a fight. Kyle McLean sort of bumped Joseph Woll as he passed in front of the Maple Leafs net. Morgan Riley took exception, started fighting McLean. Wasn't much of a fight. McLean ended up on top of him. It was pretty dumb, but this is what the Leafs are trying to do to show that they, can in fact stand up for each other in the wake of the whole Austin Matthews thing. And we have to give Brendan Burke a shout out because he said, Morgan Riley wants a fight about a week too late.
Yes. That was incredible.
that was a good one. Also, the Patrick Waugh line at the end after they won, Andrew Gross asked him, you keep looking at the standings and the teams around you keep winning. And Waugh said, yeah, they see us winning every night too. Which was a good line for about 36 hours. And then after the Senators game, wasn't that funny anymore. But it was a good line at the time. So I'll give him credit for that. And also, you know what? Our Viam Cyborg of the Week, we're going to go with Cal Ritchie. Why not? Give the kid his due. He had a great game in his hometown, went face first into the boards at UBS Arena. It's been a big week for the kid, so we'll give him the Viam Cyborg. Okay. Is that about it for the week? Is there anything else you wanted to add before we go?
No, let's yeah, I think it's a good place to end it.
Great.
Cal Ritchie was quite impressive this week.
Yes.
And, still love that he's wearing number 64.
I like 64. I'm assuming he's a big N64 guy, but we'll have to find out. He's probably too young for the N64. Anyway, we'll have to find out the story behind that number another time. Okay. Meet us on the other side. Tons to get to, including a brand new Master Leaf Theater. Okay. Meet us over there. Thanks. The fine folks at FOCO are having a buy two, get one free sale on t-shirts all through March. They have dozens of styles for the Islanders and just about any other team you could think of. Go to foco.com or use the link in the podcast description to browse the store, then use the code ANXIETY241. That's anxiety, the number 2, FOR, then the number 1 to take advantage. The offer ends March 31st, so don't wait. That is FOCO, FOCO.com. VintageIceHockey.com. Over 100 classic hockey logos on t-shirts, jerseys, hats, mugs, and more. Long Island Ducks, Albany Riverettes, Danbury Trashers, Kentucky Thoroughblades, and so many more. Plus a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch with our portion of the sales going directly to the Center for Dementia Research. These incredible items cannot be found in stores, so shop VintageIceHockey.com today. Relax, sit back, and enjoy wine from The Pinot Project. Rosé, Pinot Grigio, or a Pinot Noir that was named a Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. These wines are delicious, affordable, and available at area wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. And please, drink responsibly. Before we get to the Islanders' schedule, a little bit about what we've got going on. Obviously, you're listening to this episode tonight. We couldn't record last night. Had the Islanders lost that game, we would have done an emergency podcast, but thankfully they won, and because I was very tired and I pretty much went to sleep right after that game. Actually, no, I stayed up to watch some Mystery Science Theater 3000 because I needed to calm down. Then I went to sleep. That's it for podcast for us this week. Friday, brand new Dance Islanders book club comes out at patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. It's a cool book. It's a modern book written about some guys who are in the NHL right now. And it includes some lines that I thought were really good. So check that out. Sign up at patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety to see that. We'll be back next Sunday, regular time, to record. And they have a weird schedule next week. They have 2 back-to-backs, Monday, Tuesday, and then Friday and Saturday. So it's going to be a weird one. And we have a brand new Weird Islanders coming out that week, too. Last week, we put out a Weird Islanders with our friend Alex Doherty, who's just one of the nicest guys in the world. We put it together really quickly. It's about Vladimir Orzog, who was a very minor, forgettable Islander for a very brief time. Then he goes to Europe for a bit. He comes back as a Nashville Predator, and he becomes an enormous cog in the rise of the Predators from bizarre doormat to playoff team in the Central Division there. So Alex was great. He loved Vladimir Orzog. He told us a bunch of great stories. So check that out. And again, we had a Weird Islanders extra episode with Alex in which he explains how the Predators ownership structure works to us. And we talked to him about why Reese Witherspoon is at a bunch of Islanders games. So check all that out. He was great. We'll got to get him back on again. Okay. So that's us. What do the Islanders got going on? Well, Tuesday night, the day you're listening to this, Chicago Blackhawks come into UBS Arena. They are not very good, but they do have Connor Bedard, and he is very good. And, they could steal one from you, so you got to be careful. Thursday, Dallas Stars come into UBS Arena. You probably all heard this by now. Mikko Rantanen is day-to-day. He will not be playing in that game. I'm sure they're using it some sort of injury excuse, but we all know the real story is that he doesn't want to get jumped by Patrick Waugh in the UBS Arena parking lot. Frankly, I would not either because he would kick my ass. So, Mikko, I get where you're coming from, but come on, brother. You got to play that game. So, can you believe that's another thing? Talk about the roller coaster of a season. Can you believe that the Romanov thing and the Palmieri thing were both this season? It feels like they happened 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I actually had someone point that out to me when we were talking about like the Islanders having a charmed season. Like,
Mm.
and he's like, you don't have a charmed season when you lose your number 3 defenseman ostensibly, and
Yeah.
you're a top 6 scoring winger, like your most reliable goal scorer besides Bo Horvat
Mm.
in like a week. And I and when I don't like take notes or anything. I like to just like shoot from the hip here, but like when I'm throughout the week, like I always try to couch thoughts and remember them when we record, and always forget them. And one I've meant to keep bringing up was like, we cannot let Kyle. You talking about wasting a charm season and a Calder Trophy and Vezina Trophy and all that. If the Islanders miss the playoffs in a season where Kyle Palmieri tore his ACL, got up, stole the puck, and assisted on a goal that ends up helping the Islanders get a point, which could be the difference between them getting in.
Right.
Like we can never forgive this team
Right.
for letting him down in that situation.
I mean, they won the Stars game too, where Romanov
right,
got hurt. Remember that whole
yeah,
play
exactly.
at the end?
Right. Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying, man. You just can't let it go. But yeah, the Stars thing. No Rantanen. I think Rupe Hintz is hurt too. Hopefully they're nursing those guys because they've got bigger fish to fry.
Sure. Yeah, they've already clinched a playoff berth. The Stars have. So, and then on Saturday, 1 o'clock. So those are both 7 o'clock starts. Hooray for uniform start times. 1 o'clock Saturday, Florida Panthers. The Islanders just played them a few weeks ago and beat them. So do it again. They're still losing bodies. Who's hurt now? Somebody else is hurt now for Florida. That is going to be like basically out for Sam Bennett, maybe. I don't know, somebody else. But yeah, so not the easiest week for sure. A lot of we've seen a million times these teams out of the playoffs can come back and bite you, and teams that have already clinched the playoffs can still keep wanting to win. They need more seeding, so the Stars are going to probably need those points now that I think about it. But they need to keep winning. I mean, that's the bottom line. You just keep winning. You can't expect these other teams to beat any of the Blue Jackets or Penguins or Bruins or Red Wings. You just need to keep on winning. And I hate to be that blunt about it, but it's just the way it is. Anything you like, dislike about these coming in? I mean, I thank you for telling me about Hintz because I didn't know about that, but
yeah,
maybe they can start sleeping a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. And like you said, like they're still in the trying to catch the Avalanche. Like the game's going to be, they're a better team than the Islanders too. They've got a plus 50 goal difference. And so the Islanders will be underdogs in that game. The scariest game is Tuesday night, I think, by miles and miles. Because first of all, it's the next one, and the next one is always the scariest one when you're in a situation like this. But the Islanders, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. Like the 3 toughest schedules in the league, I think, are like Bruins, Islanders, Blue Jackets, something like that. So 3 teams that are in this race, and for whatever that means. But Tuesday is so massive because they don't have any quote unquote soft opponents left, right? They've the Panthers and the Blackhawks are it. Like the Islanders need to bank 4 minimum points this week. Like you have to bank the 4 points. And what's been frustrating about this playoff race is usually you can figure out the number that you're going to need to get in to the playoffs. And as we've said, like the Islanders were on pace for 99 points before the Habs game or whatever it was, and we're looking like the first team to ever hit 99 points and miss the playoffs. And I don't think it's going to take 99 points to get in, just because I can't wrap my head around that. But it could be 97, it could be 98, it could be 99, whatever it is. So you look at the Islanders; they've got 11 games left, and 2 of the easiest ones on that schedule are coming their way this week. And if you can get 4 points from out of 6, these games are all at home. They've got a very home heavy schedule, 10 of 12 or whatever it is at home to finish. All right. So now, 9 of 11. And like, if you can get those 2 points against the Blackhawks, Blue Jackets fans and Penguins fans and Bruins fans and Red Wings, Senators, everyone's looking at our game that night being like, well, the Islanders have the Blackhawks, like they're the lucky one. The Blue Jackets are going to play a tough one against the Flyers, who are in desperation mode. The Penguins are playing the Avalanche, who are trying to lock up a division. Like the Islanders need those 2 points on Tuesday night at UBS Arena. And we know from a couple seasons ago that how you just can't overlook a team like that. That we fell victim to it against the Capitals when they were playing out the string, and then the next night we needed Buddy Robinson and the Chicago Blackhawks to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they did just that. Peter Mrazek put it together for us. So like we know how important those points are, and you just hope that they're able to. We were talking about like the easy game against the least stressful game against the Maple Leafs. The game that they clinched a couple seasons ago, they beat the Devils. The Devils were out of it. It was at home. I think they went up like 4-0 within like the first 25, 30 minutes of the game. And if they could just do that tomorrow night and heap the pressure on the Penguins and the Blue Jackets, the Senators are in action. I mean, that's the thing. There are 15 games tomorrow night.
Oh my God.
15. And so and none of the teams, I think the Flyers, well, that's not true. Yeah, the Flyers and the Blue Jackets are playing each other, and the Senators and Red Wings are playing one another. So like there's just huge games all night while the Islanders are playing the Blackhawks. So they just need to grab those 2 points.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe they go up 4-0 and it's like 10 minutes left in the third and you can channel surf the out of town scoreboard. Another lesson I'm taking here is that next year I need to make a 26-27 season resolution, and I got to stop out of town scoreboard watching as early as I do, because like I start doing it in like late October. I know. Yeah. I'm like, God damn it. The Rangers and the Capitals and all these people. Like I got it, because now it's just this is when it really becomes a whole thing, a whole phenomenon. And tomorrow night is set up. So that game against the Blackhawks is just
no, that's huge. Tuesday is as much of a TCB win, or TCB game, I should say, as the Leafs game was. Like, you just got to take care of business.
Right.
Doesn't need to be pretty. Just get it done and get out of there. And like you said, you put the pressure on them. Tuesday night, Leafs, Bruins, Hurricanes, Habs, Senators, Red Wings, you just mentioned, Blue Jackets, Flyers, and then Avalanche, Penguins. Hopefully the Avalanche want a little bit of revenge of what the Penguins did to them about a week and a half ago in Denver. So,
and then Thursday night is like we play the Stars, and that's a really tough game. But I mean, the Blue Jackets and Penguins, Senators. The Blue Jackets are playing the Canadians, and the Senators are playing the Penguins, and like so those are like playoff games to the definition, while we're playing an out of conference team. So I don't if it feels like the Islanders, if they could scratch out 4 points here from these 3 games, and at least 4. They'll be in a decent spot, because then the Penguins got to deal with the Stars at the end of the week, and it's just,
and I will echo something Jenny said when we had her on a couple of weeks ago. These are Western Conference teams, so you can win in overtime. It's okay.
Yeah,
it won't do much for your tiebreaker setup, but that it's okay if that's got to be what it's got to be. Then go for that too. So.
How many points do you have? Like I hate that I can't put a number on it, because like, at least at that point, you can put on the blinders and be like, I don't care about what everyone else is doing. I could just focus on the Islanders, and we just need to get 12 more points from these last 11 games, or 14 more points from these last 11 games. I don't even know what the answer is, though, and that's what's making it even more stressful, and the out of town stuff more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have 85 now, and they have 11 games left. So if they get 15 points out of those 11 games, that's 100 points. Like, that's got to be enough.
It's gotta be.
and if it's not, then everything we've been saying about, like, you got to make the playoffs, you got to do it for these guys and do it for the performances of Schaefer and Sorokin. At that point, it's almost like, man, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I just
I know.
You can't really get on a team's case for not having 104 points. Like, it's tough, or maybe we can. Maybe we will find a way to do that.
Yeah, I will definitely find a way to be mad at them.
Not playing defense for most of the season is probably going to be a big one. But, but it's still there. It's still there for them to take. Again, they can still finish in second in the division.
I know. I know, right? It feels like the Penguins are miles ahead of them.
Right, but they're not.
They're 1 point. Yeah, they're 1 point. No, it's crazy. And I think that's part of the psychological lift of just getting 2 points tomorrow, and you get to 87 and you're like, okay, 10 games left. We just need 13 points to get to 100, which would be a guarantee to get in from these last 10 games. And there's a couple of games where you'd give us, make us favorites, and maybe the Hurricanes are resting guys that last game. Like, but the flip side, of course, is you lose to the Blackhawks tomorrow, and
Right.
we could just be recording another episode.
Yeah, let's hope not. No offense, but let's hope that's,
Yeah.
that's not the case. But yeah, I mean, this is the way it's going to be, folks, for the next little while. So hang on, because it could get really bad here. But it starts against Chicago, and again, like you said, you've got a chance here to just take care of business and put the pressure on the other teams for once. Okay, and then don't forget that Saturday game is at 1:00, so that's in the afternoon against the Panthers. So, and these are all at home, obviously, and as is next week's Monday game against the Penguins, because now we're going to start playing teams that, next week is Penguins and Sabres back to back, and then Flyers and Hurricanes back to back. So it's rough, but then they have 4 days off. So I don't know. This is really weird. Anyway, okay, we'll get to those next week. Okay, very quickly before we get into our Master Leaf Theater. So in case you missed it last week, 2 ELC signings back to back. Kayshawn Aitchison signs his 3-year agreement. And Cole Eiserman, a couple of days later, signs his 3-year entry-level contract. His season at BU is over, and he has signed an amateur tryout with Bridgeport. He has already played there. He's already got pictures in the Sound Tigers Saturday uniforms. He's got pictures in the Bridgeport, the Fisherman logo. We'll see how it goes. I would suspect that he's probably going to just stay there. I don't think the Islanders are going to bring him up. That seems to be kind of that would be a tough thing for a kid just coming out of college right now. But I keep saying Sound Tigers, the Bridgeport Islanders are working on their own playoff season as well. So they could probably use a boost from Cole Eiserman. So hopefully he gets on the scoreboard soon there, helps him out. I'm sure it's like a crazy whirlwind thing. So that's pretty wild. And then Aitchison is still playing for Barrie, still doing crazy stuff. He got into I keep getting updates from our friend Sab, who lives in Barrie. He loves this kid. And he keeps sending me these articles, which are great. He seems like just a wild dude. And he's having a great season. Now, if his season ends and Bridgeport's still playing, he can probably go there. There's been a lot of talk about the NHL teams letting first-round picks who are 19 play in the AHL starting next year. That I don't know when Aitchison's birthday is, but that could be him. He could be one of those guys, as could Victor Eklund, whose season in Sweden is also over. He already signed his ELC, so we could see him coming to play for Bridgeport. So we're going to start getting a look at these guys. That's great. I wouldn't put too much stock into what they do now if they play for the AHL team. It's tough. They're joining like a team in the middle of a playoff race. Who knows what's going to happen. So I wouldn't put too much stock into it, but I feel like just the experience, just getting to play with the professionals, seeing what it's like. Maybe they get some FaceTime around UBS or something, if Bridgeport season ends. That's pretty cool too. So it's really more of an experience thing than a, hey, Cole Eiserman, go save our season type of thing. So we'll have to see. But seeing these guys sign their ELCs is always very exciting. Anything really quickly on either one of these two guys? We're not the prospect perverts. We don't talk about prospects, but seeing these two guys sign in the same week was very uplifting for me. I was like, I'm very excited. I'm not the prospect guy. You can tell me all their faults. I don't care. I'm just excited for these two guys.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, we've obviously Jared Spurgeon burned us once, and so we still remember that. And I think it was, who was it? Danny Nelson decided to return.
Yeah. I don't think a loophole is a problem, but yeah, he's going back to college to play with his brothers next year.
Yeah, exactly. But so it was just nice to get like two guys, as you said, under contract. Aitchison seems like,
I can't wait for this guy, man.
Yeah, he's gonna be just. It feels like he's gonna be a mix of all our favorites.
Right.
He's got some offensive chops. He's got like Rich Pilon, Darius Kasparaitis, Mark Streit, Marc-Andre Bergeron. Like it's just all of our favorites meshed into one player. So excited for that. And I think one of the lessons I took from that Habs game, I know that there was like that little scrum at the end, but felt like the Islanders were not terribly. They weren't like chomping at the bit to get messy, and that game felt like they probably should have exerted their size a little bit more than they did, and they kind of let the Habs run around a bit, I felt. And I just feel like with when you got like Aitchison and Romanov on a blue line, and that's going to change. And he's like a little bit of an identity shifter, I feel like, Aitchison, with the way he plays. And who knows what Cole Eiserman ends up being, but we've been saying this. We were like, the Islanders need to go get someone who can just score a goal and make it look easy. And that's what we were hoping for at the deadline. And that seems to be the type of player he is. So it's good. Glad that they get to go play in, or Yzerman at least gets to go play in Bridgeport. Are kind of, I don't know, sad about the team leaving Bridgeport, I think is how I feel. It's,
Yeah.
I got no idea, like I don't know, the X's and O's or the bottom line or what's going on in like the bean counting department of why this move is being made. And feels a little weird that the Oakview group is like the who they own the building in Hamilton. So I don't know whatever it is that's going on to move the team, but it's just crushing because it felt like, I mean, the Islanders have been there forever. Like they've just been there for most of my life. The Islanders have been in Bridgeport, as the Sound Tigers and then the Islanders, and you just really feel for those fans. It feels, I feel guilty a little bit about it, and I think it's something that we just, and I feel guilty about saying this too because they're the minor league team and whatever, but something that we need to like have more time. We have to have more time available to like actually get into it and talk to somebody who's, whether it's our friend Rat Martin or the guys who do Isles and the Sound. We should get somebody on to like kind of provide expertise in an area where I don't have much expertise, so without, so that the only thing I can really say is like, I feel really sad about for the people in Bridgeport who love going to Sound Tiger games because they don't get to do that next year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like I said, I want to give this the proper time. And it is nice that we had finally official notice that the team is moving to Hamilton starting next year. You're right. We don't know the ins and outs of it. It's a brand new building that actually holds more people than UBS Arena, but it's in Hamilton, Ontario, which is not Toronto. It's its own thing. And people there want to see minor league hockey again. Of course, they had the Bulldogs for the longest time. That was Montreal's AHL team. They moved to Laval now, and they're the Rockets. So it's been a while since they've had an AHL team there. And so I think there's an element of, financial, betterment, for lack of a better word there, more so than Bridgeport. I think there's something to be said for the team being in Matthew Schaefer's hometown. I bet they're going to play a preseason game there, and the kid is going to just probably fill that building just on his own for that. And so I think there probably are a lot of benefits to it. I'll tell you right now, I'm not a fan of having the team be that far away from the parent club because it's going to just put that much more strain on travel. And, it used to be just a 2-hour drive down the Hutchinson Parkway. Now it's, a couple of hour flight. It's a whole big thing. So that doesn't excite me. And more than anything, I just feel bad for the people of Bridgeport. Is the attendance good? No, frankly, it's not. But this team was in place for 25 years. That is almost unheard of in a minor league setting. There are not a ton of teams in the minors that stay in one place that long. Really, it's the Hershey Bears and maybe Orlando Solar Bears, and that's about it. Like, there really are not, this doesn't happen that often. And what really sucks is that this team, I should say, the Bridgeport team, did not have a ton of success in those 25 years. They went to one Calder Cup final in the early days with Rick DiPietro in goal. That's how long ago that was. And that was it. And it was maybe playoff season once every 5 years and didn't really go much further than that. So it's a shame that, this team had, vocal followers. I mean, how many Islanders fans did they make by playing in Bridgeport? Probably more than a few. So that really does suck. And I think ultimately this probably is a better financial move for the team, but you got to feel bad for the people of Bridgeport that are, we're watching this team all the time, and now they're going to be gone. Again, he said, Rat Martin, our friend, he was a season ticket holder for a year or two there. So that does suck. I hope they get another team at some point. That would be cool. They have the arena, so why not? But I think this might end up being a better spot for the Islanders. But until that all shakes out, it's going to have a kind of a weird feeling. Also, last thing I got to say on this, the team is moving to Hamilton. There's only one name that is acceptable. That is the Tigers. Don't overthink it. Make them the Hamilton Tigers. That was the old AHL team from like the old NHL team from like the 1920s or something. If you don't do the Tigers, which would be dumb, the only other name I would accept would be the Hamilton Hammers because they call that place the Hammer, which is kind of a cool name. But make it the Tigers. Go black and yellow like they used to wear. Just call it a day. You don't need to get too cute with it. That's my last thing.
Yeah, you said it right. And we were saying it's been a long relationship between the two clubs, and like the first time I think I can remember hearing like the the name the Bridgeport Sound Tigers was when Trent Hunter got called up in the playoffs. Like he came up like right away, made his debut in that series against the Maple Leafs, and then obviously Rick played there. Like that's how long this team has been there, right?
Yeah.
Rick DiPietro had these crazy silver pads with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, and Jason Krog. So
Franz Nielsen, Matt Martin,
the Justins, Mapletop and Papineau,
Yeah.
Brendan Witt like finished his NHL career there. So it's been a
Wade Dublowitz.
Wade Dublowitz, of course. Yeah, I mean it's just been a lot, and
right. A lot of our favorite players have come through that system.
And those jerseys in the early, the 2000s were just awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I wish they could have stayed there forever, and I wish they would have won a Calder Cup or whatever, had some success at least, but it wasn't meant to be. So we shall see where it goes, but it's good to have official word. There's reasons to be excited for Hamilton, and we'll see how it goes. And like I said, hopefully we'll talk about it. Maybe during the summer, we'll do like a special episode. We'll get somebody on who's actually, I wanted to go to what might end up being their final regular season game there. Well, will be their final regular season game, whether they make the playoffs or not. But the timing just didn't work out. It's like a 5:00 start, so it's a little far to go from where I am. But I wish I had announced this earlier, and I would have went to a game. I've never been to one. I really wanted to, but alas, we shall see. But if you can get there, go. There's still a few home games left in the schedule, so give it a shot. Okay. It is time for something you knew we were going to do last week, and that is, of course, a brand new edition of Master Leaf Theater. This time we had a reason, because the Islanders and Leafs played together. And if you have missed your Maple Leafs drama, oh my God, I don't even know where to start with these guys. Austin Matthews got hit by Radko Gudas. No Leaf stepped in and did anything. He's out for the rest of the season. He might want to just move on because the Leafs are absolutely terrible. The not fighting Gudas has become more of a topic than the injury, which is a whole other thing. They continue to lose, but if they don't lose enough, then the Bruins will get their first round pick this year. I think they might also be losing their first round pick next year too, if I'm not mistaken, because of another trade. And so they made some trades at the deadline to get some picks back, but it's a pretty bleak situation up there in the biggest market in the NHL. And I, for one, am loving it. I got to tell you, and I know you are too.
Oh, it's so good. And it's helped put some stuff in perspective with the Islanders, because I mean, it's, as I keep saying, like I will be crushed if they don't get into the playoffs in a season where they really deserve it. But you look over there and it's so much fun to watch how nobody up there knows how to handle this. No. Like how do you not know how to handle a season like this where you're just you're not winning, you're not making the playoffs. I get that the Leafs were good in the regular season for the better part of the last decade, but for the decade before that, they were really not. And this isn't a franchise that's like bathing in Stanley Cups, right? This isn't this isn't like the Detroit Red Wings of the late 90s or something. So it's just been really funny to watch them try to figure out how they're supposed to handle this. Like especially these folks in the media were making fun of, who have all been working in the Toronto media for and they reference these other seasons. I'm like, and this is how you're acting? Like you're acting like this is something like a comet has just landed in Toronto and you guys are like poking and prodding it, seeing if there's like life forms on it, because this is so bewildering. No, it's not. Like this is what happens in sports.
Yeah. And they are not but the other thing too is like, and this plays out every single day on Real Kipper and Bourne, where Justin Bourne and Sam McKee, who's the producer, are like, they need to lose games and try and get a higher pick. If it's in the top 5, they keep it. They can use obviously a top 5 draft pick in this draft and for the future. And Nick Kyprios is like, why can't they just win games? Why can't they just show up and try hard? This is hockey. What's the matter with you? If you hear Craig Berube talking, he's just over the whole thing. Like he's just can't wait for this season to be over. he'd probably be out of a job. But even if he comes back, it's going to be a different team, I'm sure. So I'm sure these conversations are playing out all over Leafdom. And again, it's a lot of fun to see. And it's great that this era of Leafs, I guess you could call it the Matthews rebuild, the Marner era, whatever you want to call it, has come to this, because we were told to expect Stanley Cups with an S. And that has not happened and probably won't for another few years at least.
Not only were we told to expect them before like the season, the era like truly started, but while they at least were actively choking in playoff rounds, we were gaslit into thinking, oh no, they actually won the Stanley Cup and they won it. They're going to win it again this year. Like the way that the media painted these guys after they would lose in the first round every year was just like, well, I don't know what you guys were watching. The Leafs actually won the Stanley Cup because they had the best expected goals numbers and game score numbers of the regular season, and they just ran into Jonas Korpisalo. Like, that's not their fault. So they actually won. They actually took a Rask and Jonas. Those guys don't really count. So it was a incredibly strange era to hate watch through and continue to. And I say this a lot, but if you had told me we'd be standing here in the position we're in and more importantly they're in on the day that the guy we drafted before, Victor Hedman, abandoned ship, I would slap you in the face. It would be like, you're kidding me. Like, there's just no way that's the best possible scenario. And the best possible scenario, that doesn't happen to the Islanders, and especially in a situation like this, especially when you're being told by everybody everywhere, as you said, Stanley Cups are coming.
Right.
So now we're getting to the point where it like beggars belief. They are inventing new ways to eat their own. And we got served up a brand new one that has been a delight to watch from afar.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah, we'll get into the Tavares of it, I think, in a little bit. I don't know if he factors into any of these. I don't think he does. But the fact that they're talking about, well, maybe we should talk to John about moving on, and that's kind of crazy. Or he doesn't move on because, I mean, these guys got like, I don't know, I think it's 3 or 4 kids. I'm not even sure. He's ensconced there. This is his town. He wants to be there. He might be the last man standing. They might end up trading Matthews and Nylander or whoever before him. And he might just be the last guy. He's going to be the John Travolta meme and from Pulp Fiction, where you're just standing around an empty room. Like, where'd everybody go? So it would be something like that. But we do have some readings here kind of chronicling this week in the Leafs. And we're lucky in that the first one includes the Islanders. And so that's as good a place to start as any. I mentioned it before, the fight in the game on the 17th between Kyle McLean and Morgan Riley. Calling it a fight is probably overselling it a little bit. It wasn't much of anything really, but it did represent something very strange and very like this attempt by the Leafs and particularly Riley to show that, no, we're not afraid of getting our hands dirty here. We just didn't do it when our captain got hit by one of the most notorious knee hunters in the entire league. And we're going to start, of course, the one and only Luke Fox Jukebox from Sportsnet. We're actually going to bookend this edition of Mass League Theater with 2, not 1, but 2 Luke Fox Jukebox pieces. They're both pretty short. This is just the lead to the article he wrote on the 18th that said, Matthews' guilt is still affecting the Maple Leafs. So that's where we are. The Leafs are being powered by guilt that they saw their captain and best player in a heap and had to carry him off the ice after his knee was targeted by Radko Gudas, the guy who targets everybody's knees all the time. And so Luke Fox Jukebox writes this. Dateline Toronto. How should we interpret Morgan Riley's fight of Kyle McLean, a mostly meaningless tussle in a game of minimal consequence waged in a lost season? Just because something feels too little too late, does it make the gesture empty? If most of the other sprinters have long breasted the finish line, should you pull up early or dig in even harder to save face? If the first 2 bouquets you delivered got tossed in the compost, will she forgive you after a third? Respectfully, what the fuck is this guy? I mean, I get where he's coming from. Like, is it an empty fight?
Yeah.
This is a little much. Yeah, I think he might be losing it a little bit in this season here. This is a lot.
So it's so good. And one of my favorite parts of this entire saga was the next day after the Gudis hit, or like the if it was Saturday, the Monday, whenever the first like media day after the hit, everyone kept saying, and like we're already talking about this too much. Like we're gonna move on, and then
Right.
they just inevitably just keep talking about it.
Right.
I mean, I think Elliot Friedman in 32 Thoughts was like his like written blog was like, I'm not bringing up the Radko Gudas and Austin Matthews. That horse is dead. But and then devoted like 3 paragraphs to it.
Right.
So that's been funny. But so and to the point where the Leafs were also like, we don't want to talk about it anymore, and then Kyle McLean of all people ends up having to fight Morgan Riley,
right?
Because the Leafs are still thinking about it. And yeah, I bring this up a lot on and relate it to broadcasting, and it's just something that I always think about, which is, just the golden rule of broadcasting or sports writing. Everything is like you're supposed to ask yourself, who is this for? And then you're supposed to write for that audience or produce a TV show for that audience. But so many people end up producing shows or broadcasts for an audience of colleagues, or they're like, will my boss like this? Will other executive producers like this? And the Leafs are literally playing hockey right now to quell Luke Fox Jukebox and Jonas Siegel and James. They are playing hockey games in the style of, can we just get these guys to shut up? Like, that's what they're going. That like their motivation in each time they step on the ice, it feels like right now, is like, can we just not have Jonas Siegel like smoking a pipe outside my hotel room door like tonight, being like, that was a really interesting move you pulled, fighting Kyle McLean there, Morgan, and then kidnapping me and putting me in the back of like a van and questioning why I'm not waiving my no trade clause for the betterment of the team, like this. So they are literally playing the games right now, it feels like, to appease the media.
Yeah.
And that's what that Morgan Riley fight was. I mean, if he was given truth serum by Kyle McLean and Kyle McLean was like, hey, why are you fighting me? He's like, because I don't want James Myrtle poking me with a pen after this game.
Right. And you're 100% right. And the rest of the article kind of talks about that, because I'm not going to read this whole thing because we got a lot of other stuff to get to, but like it talks about the Matthews Gudis incident and this sort of fallout from it. It involves the Tkachuk brothers mentioning it on their podcast, and then they talk to Riley about what the Tkachuk brothers said on their podcast, and you can hear him like rolling his eyes and sighing like, oh my God, I don't want to say anything. There was an article that Michael Russo wrote about Bill Guerin, and all the free agent moves he might make during the summer. And what is the picture on the headline at The Athletic have? Oh, that's Austin Matthews. So, of course, everybody's like, wait, are you saying that Bill Guerin is going to try and acquire Austin Matthews? And, of course, the article is like Guerin giving the same line that every general manager has always given: if we can do something to improve our team, we will. And Michael Russo, like a fish being caught with a hook in his mouth, being like, wiggling on the end of a line, because that's exactly what these guys do. Like, it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. And that's what's great about the Leafs, is that anything can become 100 times bigger than it actually is. Like, in all seriousness, obviously Austin Matthews getting hit in the knee and missing the rest of the season is an enormous story. Like, that's a big deal, right? The Leafs having a bad season is a big deal. That's a big deal. And the Leafs not doing anything in the face of that injury is a big deal. But then it just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs to the point where it's just like, this is the only story. And it just, and the layers get lost. And the next thing you know, there's podcasts and pictures and it's just crazy. It's in no time at all, it just takes off, and it's
and this, I don't mean for this to sound flippant at all, but like, this Matthews getting knee on kneed by Gudis could be like the best thing that's happened to him, because there was all that talk before he got hurt about how he went to the Olympics and was like, trying hard, and then he came back, and I think he went like 12 games without scoring a goal and just like looked completely disinterested playing. And then he got hurt, and everyone's like, why aren't they standing up for this guy that we just said was going through the motions? And so like he's become in his own way, like a little bit of a martyr figure, and it's also given him an out clause, at least a hypothetical one, that now, without him indicating one way or another whether he's going to come back, the entire as they do, and this is something that this Leafs media contingent just does better than anyone, which is essentially talk for that person without getting them to like confirm or deny or comment on anything. It's just like get into the head of, let's role play, I'm Austin Matthews. Like that's what they literally do this all the time. They did it with Marner, they've done it with Nylander, they used to do it with Kyle Dubas, like all the time. They just they pretend, they project, they cosplay and fanfic their way through these guys' lives. And they're doing it with Morgan Riley, like and his no trade clause, his no movement clause. So they are now to the point of what is the point you hit after the point of no return? Because that's where we're at with Leafs media.
Forbidden zone.
Yeah, they are in the forbidden zone, and they are all trying to get in this guy's head, who's just like trying to get his knee right for next season, and wargaming out what happens here, and it's all because the Radko Gudas need him. He crumpled down to the ice, and none of his teammates came to his defense. And I can tell you one thing that really makes this, and once again, not to be flippant, a really sweet story, is that if that was William Nylander, if that was Morgan Riley, if that was John Tavares, if that was Steven Lorentz, if that was fucking Bogru, the same exact thing would have happened.
Yeah.
It does not matter. That team, and we've said it, this is part of why it's been so frustrating to watch these guys get like lauded as heroes for so long, despite not getting past the second round and only getting to the second round twice in the last decade after we were told they're just a juggernaut and they're inevitable, is that this has been the case for so long. And it took this moment for these people to really see that, oh my God, like this team actually is just completely broken. And I got news for you. They were broken in this way for a long time. They just kept getting by because they had another really good player on the roster. So they had some really good players, but they all just, it was never a team. And I'm just waiting for that blame for this toxic, we don't stand up for one another culture to get that blame light to get shined on one particular former captain.
It is possible. But your point about the Leafs being in the forbidden zone is 100% right. Because like, where do they go from here? Well, there's some people with ideas, but before that, let's set that up with an article and move over to The Athletic. And this is from Chris Johnston, who I like to incorporate in here if we can. This is an article called "Maple Leafs Face Biggest Question Under Pall of Injury. Will Austin Matthews stay?" So this is what I was talking about before. Like, there's no guarantee that Austin Matthews is going to want to be part of the Maple Leafs going forward if they are indeed going to undergo some sort of big rebuild. It's possible that he doesn't want to play for them. And so this is the very end of the article, and I thought this was a good setup for the rest of our Master Leaf Theater pieces here, where CJ writes this. He goes, however, the massive wave of hope that accompanied Matthews' arrival in the city a decade ago felt like nothing more than a distant memory during the midweek game against the Ducks, where his left knee took the brunt of that collision with Gudas while his teammates looked on. In the aftermath, you can't blame the players for not wanting to look too far down the Matthews rabbit hole while he finishes out the season on injured reserve. At this point, there really isn't much any of them can do to change what happens next. That's got to be a lot of fun for these guys. Our team stinks. We're playing out the string. This guy who's our captain and our best player, he's hurt. And he might not want to come back. And these guys might not want any of us here. So now what? Like, I don't know. Like, in a way, you kind of feel bad for them. Like, they don't know. Like, it's just, this is an insane, obviously, like, every team playing out the string, it sucks, right? I mean, we've been through this a million times with the Islanders, but like, usually there's this idea of like, well, some of us won't be here next year. Some of us are playing for jobs. That's how you get these, out of the playoff teams kind of, beating contenders randomly at the end of the season because dudes are playing for jobs. These guys, I don't know if they're playing for jobs. I don't know if they're playing for jobs here or someplace else. Like, it's a weird situation. And it's like, even guys with term might be asked to move. I mean, and then there are guys like Nylander who just doesn't, we're going to talk about him in a little bit, doesn't seem to really care either way. Like, I don't know. It's a weird situation that almost makes me feel bad for them because like this team is missing a lot of like, winning DNA, but this is a situation that I don't wish on anybody. It's really sucks.
Yeah, I feel bad for like a select few of them. Like I feel bad for Brandon Carlo, I guess.
Yeah.
He beat the Leafs in Game 7 for the Bruins a couple times, so I always appreciate that from him. But I feel like this has been coming for this fan base, which is also the media.
I feel bad for the two goalies. Like they've done good work this year, and they keep getting hurt. And now this, like, I don't know.
And the other goalie too, the three goalies, like Hildebrand's been good when he's been up. Yeah, it's been funny, but I love how now this entire season. So there's 11. They've got 11 games left, and you hear all like, how are we going to get through all this? And basically, the Leafs media is just going to discuss the guy. They're essentially going to go one by one down the roster, Matthews aside, deciding who do we have to run out of town, and who's allowed to stay. And they've already declared that Craig Berube is a lame duck coach, even though he's still employed. Brad Treliving is gone as well, according to most of the people. And they're going through like the players. Morgan Riley, if he doesn't waive his no trade clause, like the Leafs are going to have to like bring him to court or something. If you ask some of these writers and podcasters, they're like, hey, there's no way he's not going to waive. He can't do that to the team. Well, he absolutely can. So it's been fun to listen to them go through it all. And while they're doing that, then ask the players essentially, well, what are you going to do if Austin leaves? And that's going to be like the last week or two of the season. It's just basically these players are all going to have to answer a question for another player. And nobody ever likes doing that. They're not going to say anything at all. And all that is going to be, Steven Laurent saying like, oh yeah, that's Austin's decisions. We support him and whatever he decides. Him just saying something as innocuous as that is going to be, chewed up and spit out all over the internet and podcasts. So it's going to be a fun couple of weeks in that regard. And Austin Matthews being really silent, except for having like his agent come out. And also, we should also note that these kind of hits, like, they're not common, but this stuff happens. Like, what did you say? Like once every 3 weeks in the NHL, someone gets knee on knee. Maybe it feels like they're less frequent as they have been in previous years. But of this era, like, it's something that happens, I don't know, 10 times a season, a hit like this, and the guy gets suspended 4 or 5 games. I think AJ Greer just got suspended a bunch of games. Evgeny Malkin cross-checked Rasmus Dahlin in the throat a few days ago. So this stuff happens, but when it happens to the Maple Leafs, not only does do we need to have a complete, what would you call it, internal investigation of NHL player safety,
right?
but we also have to ask the captain of the Edmonton Oilers about it,
right? Yeah,
which is just incredible. So it's all this happening at once. These players, man. The Rangers are giving them a run for their money in this department, but has there ever been a team that wants the season to end more than, friggin', I don't know, Nick Robertson? Like, Nick Robertson probably is just like, I cannot wait till I don't have to see Jonas Siegel's face for 4 months. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, the whole, the dragging of George Parros through the streets is really kind of like, at times like this that I recall the late great Larry Brooks, who said, the Players Association lets these dudes beat on each other. So I don't know what there is to do about it. I mean, that's where it has to begin and end. I mean, you can get on Parros's case all you want, but that's one Players Association guy hitting another guy. And I don't know, maybe he should have thought about that before doing that.
And it's not a unique thing. Like, this is not a unique thing at all that only happens to one team.
Yeah. I don't remember this much consternation coming from Toronto when the Islanders lost 2 regulars within the span of 3 weeks or 2 weeks, right? Like to injuries. So yeah, anyway, I feel bad for certain guys, but not too bad.
Yeah, did Connor McDavid get asked about Mikko
on
Alex Romanov? We gotta figure that one out.
Well, I mean, McDavid was too busy throwing his own coach under the bus to really give an answer there. That's another story. But so the question becomes, how do the Leafs navigate this forbidden zone? Maybe Matthews wants to stay. That's like kind of a weird limbo to live in. How do they address the fact that nobody did anything, or the fact that, they just were having this very bad season? Well, now we go to Chris Johnston's, one of his Athletic compatriots. We're going to get to another one in a minute, but one of his compatriots at the Athletic is the great Jonas Siegel. The man we talk about, he is the Charles Dickens of Mass League Theater, of course, because everything is doom and gloom. But this time, Jonas has a great idea. Well, actually, I definitely recommend everybody listen to the Leafs Report podcast, because it's a gold mine. And I wish I could remember which one it was, but he and James Myrtle have one of the worst podcasts you'll ever hear. And it's just so funny the way these guys argue with each other. And Jonas's big plan to fix the Leafs is, and I kid you not, I hope you're all sitting down for this, because Jonas has a foolproof plan for fixing the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, it's one step. You ready? Here's what it is. And he said this on his podcast. I swear to God, you can go listen to it and hear it for yourself. He said, the best thing the Leafs can do is hire smart people. I swear to you, that's what he said. And I listened to that and I thought, wow, that's genius. I mean, that's revolutionary. Who would have thought of that? I mean, the rest of us here hoping that our teams are run by drooling inbred morons dumb as a bag of hammers. I never thought to hire smart people. Where do you get that idea from? Anyway.
It's so good. Yeah. I hope Brad Tree Living gets like wind of that at some point. Like it's like a report, like here's your media report. Right. Jonas Siegel apparently thinks you're an idiot because the next time the Leafs hire a GM, he wants them to hire a smart one.
Right.
And,
yeah.
And him and James have been incredible. I mean, it is. I do not say this lightly. Like it is a chore to listen to that show. Yeah. It is so bad, and you say perfectly that he's the Charles Dickens of Mass League Theater, because it is. You're listening to this guy and you're just like, is it 1847? Like there's smog in the air. Like it's. Are you like Scrooge is not letting you go home for Christmas? This whole thing, and the way he talks is just brutal. And Myrtle, of course, is just like, well, I was right about the whole podcast. He just talks about how he's right about everything. Yeah. Even going back to one of their favorite things to say is going back to last season. They said that the Leafs were bad, and they never mentioned the fact that the Leafs won the division last year. And like these guys were like, oh, they were all writing, is this team different articles? Right. The entire season. They were right about this all along. But
Myrtle's great because I've never heard a guy do so many podcasts that sounded like he didn't want to be on the podcast.
Yeah,
like it's great.
It's he's one of a kind. I can't believe it.
It was so fun. Jonas is like, stop shopping at the dumbass store and start shopping at the smart person store.
Yeah, and it's basically his way of saying, bring back Kyle Dubas. Why aren't you reading my colleague's model?
Right. Yeah. Or I'm sure there's a list of smart, quote unquote, smart people that Jonas has. Bill Zito, Doug
Tulsky.
Armstrong, Tulsky. Yeah. Obviously Dubas. These people are the smart people. The other ones, they're all dumbasses. But anyway, Jonas's article here, he does have another plan for the Leafs. That's not the part that I wanted to read here. The part is this. This is from The Athletic from a couple of days ago, the 19th. It's called Why the Maple Leafs Shouldn't Just Tear It All Down This Offseason. Let me read that again so you understand exactly what the point of the article is. Why the Maple Leafs shouldn't just tear it all down this offseason. All right, here's the lead to it. There's a scary world potentially awaiting the Toronto Maple Leafs this season. One in which Austin Matthews decides he can't win in Toronto, no longer wants to play for the Leafs. In that world, the Leafs may have no choice but to trade Matthews and maybe even begin tearing the roster down. There's a school of thought that the Leafs should tear down this offseason no matter what, that there is no path back to contention, and the team, whoever is in charge, to just accept it now and get on with it. Here's why a teardown should be an option of last resort. So here are the Maple Leafs having the worst season in a decade, possibly having to trade their captain, who was injured in a terrible, terrible incident. And here comes Jonas Siegel, and this motherfucker wants to run it back. Like that's what he's basically. He's like, well, let's not to trade everybody here. Let's just hold on to a bunch of these guys. And the article goes on to like say, stuff that makes sense. Draft pick. They don't have any draft picks. Just because you trade a Nylander and a Matthews doesn't mean you're going to get like commensurate, prospects and a package back. How do you even know? Like, who's going to even be the coach at that point? There's the risk that, one season out of the playoffs ends up being 14, like in the case of Buffalo, or, until this season. And so all that makes sense. But at the same time, really, is this where you want to go with this? Like, yeah, maybe let's slow down on that whole rebuild thing and let's just see how these guys do next year. Really? I don't know if that's what people really want to hear, Jonas. I hate to tell you that.
He's really just telling on himself. He's showing his ass a bit here because he's been the guy who's like, for basically since they in, I would say like mid-December, when it became pretty evident that this team wasn't good this season. And he was like, oh man, like they're staring down some difficult decisions. Like they might need to tear this thing down. And now that everybody else is starting to say that, he's like, well, actually, the smart thing would actually be to just run it back again. And to basically what he's saying is, I don't want to cover a team that's bad. Like this is the team I root for. You might not. I'm not a Leafs fan, but he doesn't want to cover this team being bad. And he had a great line in another one of his articles, basically where he talked about how Matthews leaving would have earthquake potential, and the whole thing is just about this. Once again, you're not going to believe this, Dan, but franchise altering off season coming up for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and first one in 1 year for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Since their last one with Mitch Marner and his decision to leave, which was also the most important off seasons ever. That one came after one of their most important off seasons ever with Brad Treliving taking over for Kyle Dubas. And now that one came after one of their most important off seasons ever because it was Kyle Dubas was kind of on the ropes and they didn't know which way. They just choked it. And of course that one had come right after one of the most important off seasons ever as well, because they had some contract decisions, the Austin Matthews contract extension. So we're now on 6 of the most important off seasons in a row for the Toronto Maple Leafs upcoming. And as Jonas as he does in a lot of these articles, it's not lost on me that The Athletic is owned by the New York Times. And if you have the New York Times app, or you read the New York Times, whatever online, you could be scrolling through it, and depending on your algorithm, you could be reading a story that is about, some horrifying stuff that's going on in the world. And the first 3 paragraphs of a story about a war-torn country will not be as dramatic as what Jonas Siegel is writing about when it's
the Maple Leafs.
When they're talking about Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner leaving the Toronto Maple Leafs, or Kyle Dubas, getting fired. And I just know there's somebody who's working for that newspaper that is reading it and being like, going to their war correspondent in wherever, being like, hey, you see how this guy is writing about the Toronto, you don't know what the Toronto Maple Leafs are? Well, don't worry, that's besides the point. Can you introduce some of this prose into how you're describing this country right now and what's going on over there with missiles flying? Because this is drama. Right.
That's the way it is in Toronto. Always, I don't know what these guys would do if the Leafs were actually good. Fortunately, we won't have to worry about that.
I wonder if Jonas and James are emailing the people at the Times, being like, can you place my my article about Mitch Marner and being unhappy in Las Vegas is, you guys might know it's really important. You can you can at least put it up a little bit higher, that maybe knock off that Vladimir Putin or article and just put it right above there, because it's just as important.
Yeah. I feel like we've made this joke before, but I mean, I don't know what state the New York Times like sports section is. Obviously not the print version, but like the online version. I just wonder if there's somebody logging in and checking out the sports, say, clicking on the sports tab and being like, why are there all these articles about the Toronto Maple Leafs in here? I don't understand. What happened to the Yankees? Did they fold? Like what? There used to be stories about the Yankees and Mets and Knicks. Like, are the Knicks still playing? I guess not.
Or like an editor gets like maybe like the usual Toronto editors like on leave or taking a vacation.
Right.
And they're like, hey, we got to pull somebody from the like the West Coast desk. Like you're just gonna be a couple hands on a keyboard here to help us with our hockey coverage. Sure. Question. Yeah, I just got 6 Toronto Maple Leaf stories.
Right.
They didn't even play. They didn't play tonight. Like, what am I supposed to do with one of the one? There's one guy who just wrote that he's chained himself to the the door at the Ford Performance Center. Yeah, totally normal. That's Jonas.
Right.
That's Jonas. He's totally fine. He's just his friend got fired. He's upset.
Yeah, I wonder if there's somebody working the overnight at the Times that's like calling their editor and like, I just want to ask you a question. The only sports stories in here are about the Maple Leafs and Minnesota Wild. Is that normal?
Yeah,
yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's all right. Really?
This article says Marc-Andre Fleury is like one of the funniest guys. Yeah. And you see that red phone over there? If that thing rings, you got to answer it because it means that Mitch Marner has made his decision.
is no longer a Leaf. But anyway, okay. I just want to read the bottom of Jonas's thing. It's really unhinged. Like, you really should check it out at The Athletic if you can. Use a reader view in Chrome. You could read it for free. Don't tell anybody I said that. But at the end, he has another great line that I'm going to tie it up. And again, like, I get where he's coming from, but I don't think people want to hear this right now. And anyway, at the end, he writes, the Leafs may not be able to solve all of their roster issues this offseason, but they can certainly upgrade 1, 2, or even 3 positions. Acquire a solid top 4 defenseman who could move the puck, say, and a top 6 center who maybe isn't a star, but is steady and dependable. And then maybe by next year's trade deadline, the Leafs, back in playoff contention again, can keep upgrading elsewhere and then upgrade some more in the summer of 2027. Difficult? Yes. Still the best option for now? Also yes. A teardown is far from foolproof. Yes, that's true. It is far from foolproof, but let's talk about foolishness here for a second. So you think that the Leafs trading Oliver Ekman-Larsson is going to get them a couple of upgrades, including a solid top 4 defenseman, who, by the way, is Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who can move the puck, and you're just going to find a top 6 center where? Exactly. I don't know. Understand. And then, a year from today, I'm telling you, the Leafs, they're right back in playoff contention. And then next year, they're going to win the division again. This is delusional. Like, this is, I know there's a lot going on, but guys, I would say Islanders fans are more pessimistic about their chances next season as these guys keep getting older than Jonas is about the Leafs and their next season, where we have no idea who's even going to be on this team or who's in charge, who's coaching. When I saw this, I was like, holy shit, this guy is completely off the deep end here. I don't understand. I'm not even sure what he's even going for here. I kind of get it, but then he just goes completely off the rails.
Well, here's why you get it, because this is a normal argument to make when your team is in a position like every team that's not going to make the playoffs is going to have this decision now, basically. Like there'll be a few that, like the Blackhawks and the Sharks or whatever, that are excused from it, but then everyone else, the Rangers and the Leafs, like if the Predators miss, all these teams that are the Jets, Blues,
right,
all these teams, right? They're all going to discuss this, but they're going to do that. Those media contingents are going to do that like normal freaking human beings.
Right.
They're going to be like, well, here's the case for, and here's the case against. And that's it. Like, that's just really it. And with Jonas, it's, let me play this thing out for you. The Leafs are back. The heroes in blue and white. They start hot. They're back in playoff contention after they acquired with, by the way, all the stuff that I wrote about not having any assets to trade, we did find a way to acquire a number 2 center and a top 4 defenseman with no sweat of our back, because we hired a smart guy who knows how to do it. And they're back in playoff contention, but that's not it. Not only are they back in playoff contention, but when the season ends, they're going to be able to upgrade again the next season too. No sweat off their back once again. Like, that's not what whoever's going to cover the Washington Capitals this summer is going to write. He's just going to write, who knows what's going to happen with Ovechkin. Tom Wilson's getting old. Maybe we're going to build around Ryan Leonard. Do we need to like trade off a bunch of pieces? We already traded John Carlson. It's a tough decision. Like, that's it. That's what's going to be written. And Jonas instead is going, once again, cosplaying and fanficking into a year and a half from now, 2 years from now. How far did he just get down that road with these hypothetical number 2 centers and top 4 defensemen? And him and James Myrtle do this all the time on that podcast. They're just like, all they need to do is get a really good player and then another really good player, and that's it. Teams do it all the time. They get really good players all the time.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, no, they don't. What? Just because you're the Toronto Maple Leafs? And one last thing before we get to the last one is I do love this argument from him too, because we heard from everybody that the New York Islanders are supposed to rebuild, tear it down to the studs, basically every season of my life as a fan, But there's one team that can never commit that sin, and that's Toronto. Like, what? Are you crazy? In this era of like rebuilds and tear downs, even though the reason that they were good for so long was because Lou Lamoriello did that and put them in a position to get better. So it's wonderful stuff from Jonas as usual. He knocks it out of the park, and at this point I just am obviously praying for his soul, because I don't know where he is right now.
Yeah. This is not the last one though. We have 2 more actually.
Oh boy.
But you're 100% right that like the get good players argument makes no sense. Like, every team is trying to do that. Yeah. I can't understand. Like, the Islanders didn't trade for Braden Shen because they thought he was a dumbass. Like, they got him because they thought he was a good player and he's going to help. And, the jury's still a little bit out, but he's played okay so far. But like, you can't just be like, well, just get a couple of good players. You know what? You get a top 4 defenseman and a top 4, top 6 forward, and these guys are good together. We're right back in playoff contention. Yeah. Okay. Where are you getting those guys, and for what, and how? And then you got to play a season. Like, you never know. That's the thing. You never know. It's just so funny how they're just like, yeah, just snap your fingers and it's there.
It's that's the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Right. And the thing is, if we're being honest, the Leafs have had some very good players over the last 10 years, right? They've had some very good teams and very good players. And like, they were good, but they were just missing something in the playoffs. And like, usually that ends up being like toughness or grit or whatever. And then they end up, where they are now, where they've traded all these picks, and now their team is kind of this misshapen mishmash of weirdness. And that is the problem for a guy I don't think we've ever featured on Master Leaf Theater before. Another person at The Athletic, Dom Lucian. Everybody's favorite. Absolutely hates the Islanders. Been shitting on them for as long as I can remember. No love lost with this guy at all. And he has a theory on he doesn't write too many like editorial articles, I think, on the Leafs, but he had to let this out, and the title is perfect. It says, Maple Leafs should feel more Maple Leafs should be more disgusted about a losing season than a lack of toughness. And I'm not even sure what parts of this to read because it's all so good. So I might as well just start with the beginning, and then we'll get to a little bit at the end. He writes, this is great. I'm going to put on like my like angry newscaster voice here if I can. So Dom writes, all my life, I've heard 2 things every year that were the Leafs' shortcomings. The Leafs weren't tough enough, and the Leafs didn't try hard enough. It's never about the Leafs getting better. It's always about the Leafs getting tougher and trying harder. Frankly, it's a load of crap that has put this team in its current mess. It's a load of crap that colored past messes and led to this one, and it's the same load of crap that's currently being peddled to create future messes. It's a tired excuse made to distract from the fact that the team just isn't good enough. Wow, that is fire right there. This team was very good for a very long time, and you kept it together as long as you could until one guy just couldn't take it anymore, and he wanted to leave. Like, I'm not sure how to explain this. Like, something was missing, and maybe it was toughness. Maybe it was just sort of spirit decor. I don't even know, but like, there was something. You can't say that there wasn't something missing here. And I get what he's saying. Like, you can't just buy toughness. It doesn't really work that way. And that's how you end up where the Leafs are now. But like to pretend like nobody's ever made the Leafs good is nonsense. Like people worked to make this team really, really good. They were just missing something. And that's where they're at now. But he keeps acting as if nobody ever tried to make the Leafs good. The Leafs were good for a long time and just didn't win, which shows you how hard it is to win the Stanley Cup. But that's not good enough for them. So I don't know. I just found this one really funny. Just the tone of it was just hilarious. Like maybe you should stick with numbers, dude. I don't know. This is a very like early 2000s blogger-esque.
Yeah,
you know.
This is a point that has been made by countless people for decades now, and being presented to us like it's a groundbreaking progressive way of thinking here, like a new political ideology has just sprung from this guy. I'm going to be brave here and say that getting good hockey players is more important than getting enforcers on your team and punching people in the face.
Right. Yeah.
The bravery is seeping through.
Yeah.
The page here.
Again, very, very revolutionary concept as well.
Incredibly revolutionary concept, and it comes off as like, I don't know. I feel like I could have read this in like the whatever your local middle school's paper is. It just that's how it feels written. It's incredibly immature, I guess is the way to write from this like point of view of. Now let me tell you folks, let me set the record straight here.
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
You're gonna have to stop at those red lights. You don't want to just drive right through them. Okay. It's yeah, man. We've all been around the block before too. And,
well, this is very like, you know, I was at the supermarket and there was a cashier who had blue hair like that. What's the world coming to?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it feels like he's basically saying that, or is forgetting that for 8 years, the entire ethos of this team was exactly what this article is about, which is like, we're going to go all in on just like skill, speed, and just lean into that rather than go roll with like the 4 lines and have the Matt Martin, Casey Zizekas, Cal Clutterbuck types, right? Like we'll take care of all that, and goaltending also, like that stuff will come. We just want to make sure we get the most talented players in first, and that was their thing. So when he's like, all my life I've been told this, it's no, man. Like for the last 9 years before Mitch Marner left, you guys did exactly what you're saying that the Leafs never do, which is try to win with skill over will and all that. And because it's the Leafs, it becomes like this like polarizing issue where you're on one side of it or the other. Well, all other teams are just normally like, yeah, no, we're just going to do both of those things. Like we're going to have some guys who are like really good and other guys who are good, but also like tough and heavy to play against and will do anything to win. Like that's just, kind of what normal teams, we're the Dallas Stars. We got some of those guys each. And, so yeah, I mean, incredible stuff. And it read to me too. I'll leave at this point, which is like the Leafs we're all standing around looking at Auston Matthews, and that's not what bothered Auston. That Auston wasn't mad that Brandon Carlo or Morgan didn't whip off their gloves and try to jump Radko Gudas. Auston was really mad that Brandon Carlo's game score per 60 is like minus point. That's what he's really mad. He doesn't care that he did that.
Yeah.
He just wants him get your game score up, buddy. Right. Get your expected goals percentage up.
I was gonna say, do you know what your expected goals are this year?
That's what he was yelling.
What you should be worried about.
He gave the crowd a thumbs up on the stretcher going off the ice, and then pointed at Morgan. Was like, get your expected goals percentage up.
Matthews flashed a 2 on one hand and a 1 on the other because that was the Leafs' expected goals for that game. So 2.1 over the Ducks. But yeah, no, I don't know. These guys, they don't really, I don't know. Their theory on team building is hilarious. Like you just plug in a guy and it's fine. No, it doesn't really work that way. The guy has to be the right guy and he's got to bring the right things to the team. And if they gel together, then they can win, as we've seen with teams. But it's hard to win. That's why a lot of teams don't do it. I mean, the Oilers had everything going for them until they didn't, and the Panthers did. One last paragraph here from Dom, though. This is towards the bottom. And he has a very similar feeling that Jonas did, which is that you put smart people in charge and they'll just sort of take care of everything, which again is revolutionary. He writes this. He writes, "This Leafs era is not too far gone to be saved with the right people in charge, behind the bench and in the front office. We've seen teams turn around quickly with a new coach and make the right moves with a general manager to aid that. It's not over, but it can be in a hurry because the Leafs are teetering on the brink of extinction. They're in an extremely precarious position where the wrong ideas can quickly push the Leafs into another decade of darkness. It sure seems as if those wrong ideas at the forefront of the discussion over the last week. After an abhorrent season such as this, it's high time to shift the narrative away from the usual scapegoats and find new scapegoats, I guess, is what he's looking for. So, I don't know. He'll find some new scapegoats, I'm sure. Just once those smart people come in and they make a move that they don't like, then all of a sudden they'll be the new scapegoats. So,
yeah. The usual scapegoat is in Vegas right now. Against his will, apparently. He's being held against his will in Las Vegas.
Playing on a very poor team, I think.
Yeah, he's playing on he's really struggling in Vegas, adjusting. Right. He misses the traffic because he heard it got better or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Jonas thing too, which is like this is written like somebody tearing down like a political candidate before like a big election more than anything. Like if it's written from that soapbox, which is a crazy thing to do about a sports team in general. And I get that everybody's hype. I mean, we're hype about it like on this show and et cetera, and everyone is in sports media. But I don't think it gets to this point with every story for other teams. Like every bit of Leafs prose is written with this amount of gravitas and importance to it. And this isn't even about anything like crucial. This is just about a made up argument in this guy's mind that he's walking down the streets and the police have barricaded the two sides of the street. One side is people saying we need to be tougher, and the other side is like, no, we need more skill guys, and they're hurling tomatoes at one another, and he's just walking down the middle shaking his head. So it's I mean, but fear. Okay. I fear for them. I fear for them all up there.
but also like when other teams write about this stuff, it's never just like, well, just put smart people in charge.
Yeah, no, it's
okay. Not. That's not or get a top 6 forward and a top 4 defenseman, and you're good to go. Okay, right. Okay. Like again, like most teams don't expect those things to happen. Like even us, Matthew Schaefer was dropped into our lap. Nobody expected him to be here, and to a man or a person, every Islanders fan is like incredibly thankful for this person. Like. We don't expect him to be here. He's a gift for us. Like we didn't expect to just go out and find a top 4 defenseman. Like it just doesn't work that way. But to these guys, I do this on the computer all the time on Xbox. I just throw it on there, and I find a good top 4 defenseman, and we're all set. So that's what cracks me up. Is it's just like just put smart people in charge.
Yeah, put smart people. And I'm not saying me, but I would do a pretty good job.
I mean, my friends and I could do it if you really wanted us to, but we're not saying that. Okay, here's our last one. And I know it's been a very long episode. We really, really appreciate you sticking with us. We're just going to do this and then wrap it up very quickly. But we obviously started this Master Leaf Theater with the Maple Leafs not responding to Austin Matthews getting hurt, leaving the game. Turns out he was out for the season. And the whole thing about how they were they didn't respond to this whole thing. So this is from an article from March 22nd, so the day before we're reading this, and once again by Luke Fox Jukebox at Sportsnet. And the title is, Got to Respond Better. Maple Leafs hang wall out to dry after Stolar's accident. So in case you missed this, Anthony Stolarz was going to start the game. They're in warm-ups. William Nylander takes a shot, as they do all the time in warm-ups, hits Stolarz in the neck, where he had a nerve issue earlier this season. He leaves the game. Joseph Wall comes in completely unwarmed up, not prepared, whatever, and the Leafs get their ass handed to them by the Senators 5-2. So we start with no response in this one situation. We finish with another non-response in a different situation. And I just got to read the lead here again. This is all you need to know about this. Stolarz is fine. He'll probably play, I guess, this week. But here's the lead. It's so great. Dateline, Canada, Ontario. The most disappointing season in Maple Leafs memory won't stop supplying rubberneckers of this car wreck with another ugly scene to digest. That's us. We're the rubbernecker. The series of unfortunate events just keeps getting renewed. On Saturday, in a barn beside an Ottawa highway, Maple Leafs didn't even make it to puck drop before things veered off the road. William Nylander, aloof whipping boy and barrel-chested leading scorer bundled into one, accidentally zipped a puck off of Anthony Stolarz's throat during warm-ups, sending the visitors' intended starting goaltender to a nearby hospital for imaging. Yes, we are the Rubberneckers. We love watching this Leafs downfall. It's been a lot of fun. It sucks that Stolarz got hurt in this way. This is a random thing. Remember when Adam Pelech got hurt playing sewer ball? We've seen guys get hurt in practices and warm-ups and whatever. It happens. It's unfortunate. I don't really think this is the right spot to make sure that we know once again that William Nylander is A, an aloof whipping boy, and is B, the barrel-chested leading scorer. Like, the other thing too is, like, obviously William Nylander is a handsome man, but like when I think of a barrel-chested guy, I think of like an old pro wrestler, like Bruno Sammartino, a guy who wrestled when my dad watched wrestling when he first came to this country. Like, that's a barrel-chested guy. He's like, you could show a movie on his chest, you know? I don't know if William Nylander is quite in the same class as Bruno Sammartino, but regardless, dude, don't tell us the guy. These are details we don't need in this part of the story. Just tell us what happened. Like, he can't help himself. He just can't help himself.
I don't know what else to add to this one because I think I say this a lot, but I feel like Luke Fox Jukebox is in on the bit and knows that we are doing this, and is like, I'm gonna get on the show. This
possible. It's possible
because no sane human being would lead a story about this particular subject in this particular way. You're reading through it, and you're is this the beginning of The Hobbit? Like it's like he's describing the Shire, but he's really just talking about the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa, in a barn beside an Ottawa highway. And I get like the theme is there and all that with like rubber, whatever. I get it.
Yeah.
But he veers so far off the theme of, the car wreck to once again remind us what William Nylander looks like without his shirt on.
Yeah.
And I think the point of Master Leaf Theater and this season is especially given, the way that the Mitch Marner saga ended and what we're going to be dealing with Austin Matthews coming up is that these guys, whether it's Luke Fox Jukebox, whether it's James Myrtle, whether it's Steve Dangle or Sammy McKee, Justin Bourne, everyone involved. I mean, to like Elliot Freeman, everybody involved in Toronto Maple Leafs media, they all lament one thing, which is that these guys can't handle the pressure of playing in Toronto, and that players are hesitant about coming to Toronto now because of the pressure and the rigors. And we saw it with Marner, the Matthews stuff at the Olympics kind of seeping out. And they don't understand it. They like don't. You can't handle the what murder, what pressure, right? Like they just like can't figure out what these guys are talking about, and they just assume it's like the pressure of playing for the New York Yankees in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and early 2000s, or the Lakers or the Celtics or the Cowboys. They assume it's that kind of media pressure, right? But it isn't. It isn't that these guys are like, their play is scrutinized to like the nth degree. It's that they need to open a newspaper or pull up an article or hear on the radio about whether or not they're wearing a shirt. when they were talking to the media. Or, Mark Masters comes in and is like asking them about their secret handshake during warm-ups and like whether they're going to keep doing it or not. It's not the play that's getting scrutinized. It's the fact that these guys are being written about like a 11-year-old would write about their high school crush in a diary, or their best friend in like their diary or whatever. And that is an incredibly bizarre way to cover a sports team. Yeah. And then this is just another example of it. Like, this is just a guy took a puck off the neck in a warm-up. It's been a very strange season that it's not going well. And somehow in that story being written, we find out once again, for like the 13th time this season, that William Nylander's pecs are glistening and they're bulging. Like, I don't understand why they don't understand, why they can't fathom why these guys are like a little ornery with them.
Well, my thing with that is, I mean, I don't know if we've talked about this, but like, they seem to think that it's normal to have 25 people in your stall after practice with microphones and cameras and all that kind of stuff. And then what they do is they make fun of people who don't want that.
Right.
And they're like, well, I go play in Florida where nobody cares. No, dude, people care. It's just a normal amount of people care. Like, it's not like
and in a normal way.
Right. In a normal way. So it's like, yeah, okay, fine. You play for the Panthers and there's, George Richards and maybe 2 other guys covering you. You play for the Islanders and it's literally 3 guys. I mean, Patrick Waugh can't even stand the 3 guys that are covering the Islanders. Like, it's so funny how testy he gets with these guys. So like, imagine that times 8, right. Like, it's a lot of people. Like, there's too many. It's too much. And then, if you're Morgan Riley, you're going to stand in front of 25 people. You're going to give these quotes and, you're going to say whatever you need to say. And you're going to go home. And then somebody's going to be like, dude, did you see what, Steve Simmons just wrote about you? Did you see what Kiprios said on the radio? Did you hear what TSN, the Leafs Drive guys or whatever, the Overdrive guys are saying about you? Like, you can't win. You get bombarded and then you get bombarded again. Like, it's a lot. And but to them, they don't see anything. To them, they feel like this is like some sort of badge of honor that you have to deal with this. Guys don't want to deal with this shit. I'm making too much. I don't need to deal with this shit. I'm going to play in Vegas where I get, again, right. It's a normal amount of people covering the team in a normal way. And then I can just go about my day. And by the way, I'm also making $10 million this year. Like, I don't know. It's not that hard. I don't know why they refuse to see it this way, but
they can't. Yeah, they can't figure out that George Richards or Aaron Portzline isn't going up to Zach Werenski and being like, why didn't you stand up for your captain? Like, do you not like Austin? Like that's not not. Was it? Does this have anything to do with 3 years ago when the Schedule B bonuses?
Did you hear what the Kachuk said on their podcast about how you guys didn't respond to the Austin? Oh my god!
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right. The Blue Jackets are covered by like literally 3 guys, and they all write about the team in a very normal and high quality way. I got to tell you, like it's insane that these guys think of this. But.
I think you can just put it as bluntly as this. So let's assume there's 125 regular media people who are like following teams on broadcasts or writing about them, whatever. Out of that 125, I think only one of them this entire season and probably last season and the season before that ever noted whether or not the player that they were interviewing was wearing a shirt or not. And that one person who did do that did it well over a dozen times.
Right.
So like, yeah, like there are Jim Matheson and the Oilers are under incredible like media scrutiny, but they're under media scrutiny in like, hey, you missed an open net, Connor. Right. Like, what the fuck? Like, you made me upset. I'm mad at you. Yeah. Not, hey, Connor, like, I saw that you were driving with Zach Hyman to work today and not your usual Leon. Is everything okay between you two? Like,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a lot. It will continue to be a lot. I don't know. We'll probably do another Mass Leap Theater at the end of the season when it all shakes out and people get fired or whatever. We get more clarity on this, but we couldn't let this stuff go. This was just 1 week. I mean, the Islanders had a crazy week, as we said, but this was just 1 week in the lives of the Maple Leafs. And you could see it was a lot. So we thank you for listening to this latest edition of Master Leaf Theater. Okay, we want to wrap this episode up. It's been very long. I guess we had the extra day, so it's okay. And tonight, obviously, you guys are going to watch them play the Blackhawks. So this is all good pregame stuff. Just want to send our condolences to the friends and family of Jessie Pierce, who covered the Minnesota Wild for NHL.com. She worked for the Wild for some time. She had her podcast, Bar Down Beauties, as well. And her and her 3 kids were killed in an unspeakable tragedy this weekend, and it's just awful. And I didn't know her personally. I read some of her stuff throughout the course of years. She covered the Wild for a long time, and it's just very clear what kind of effect she had on people and how loved she was. And I just can't even imagine what her family and friends are going through right now. So we send our condolences to them. Rest in peace, Jessie Pierce. That will do it for us today. We will be back next Sunday, as I said. Reminder to sign up for patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety for ad-free episodes, bonus content, you know the whole thing. Our theme song is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to more of their music on Spotify. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for your most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Islanders Anxiety podcast are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Find us wherever you can. Find us wherever you get your podcast. It's been a long night. Leave us a review where you can. Shop VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. You still have one more week to take advantage of the buy 2 get 1 free sale on t-shirts at foco.com. Use the code anxiety241 FOR1 to get that. Mike, any final thoughts on what was a crazy week for the Islanders? And it's just one of what will surely be many as the season winds down.
No, that's it, man. I think nearly 2.5 hours is pretty good to get our thoughts out, and now we just get ready for this terrifying couple games coming up, and yeah, who knows what kind of people will be on Sunday.
That is true. I actually am probably gonna have to miss the game on Saturday, which of course I had to do last week with the Senators, so hopefully the score ends up better than that one did. But it's been a lot. Again, we'll be back next week. Thank you very much for listening. If you made it all this way, thank you so much for listening. We can't thank you enough. And we'll be back next week. And man, we got to figure out a way to make these episodes shorter. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.